For more than 150 years, Trinity University has celebrated human inquiry. Our innovative curriculum is rooted in a distinctive blend of the liberal arts and sciences. Students and faculty hone creative curiosity by answering questions and questioning answers. In a supportive, interdisciplinary environment, they seek ways to build bridges and make connections. And with intentional meaning and purpose, they are driven by a sense of duty to themselves and to the world. Add in opportunities for undergraduate research, experiential learning, and nationally recognized pre-professional programs in business, communication, healthcare, education, and entrepreneurship, you get the full Trinity experience. The liberal arts plus. And while this experience may end with a Trinity degree, it's just the beginning of a lifetime of inspired exploration and perpetual discovery.
And the Trinity University Tigers. And now the starting lineup for Dallas. Batting first is shortstop number 2, Michael Anderson. Batting second baseman number 6, Tyler Darnell. Batting third is center fielder number 27, Grady Birmingham. Batting fourth, right fielder number 20, John Talley. Batting fifth at third base number 5, Malvis Martinez. Batting sixth, the catcher, number 35, Chase Porter. Batting seventh, left fielder, number 3, Pierce Coleman. Batting eighth, at first base, number 21, Zach Solomon. And batting ninth, the designated hitter, number 28, Andrew Gaspar. On the mound for the Crusaders, number 11, left-hander, Adrian Montenegro. For the Crusaders are Nate Ramsey and Henry Ross. Head coach of Dallas is Eric Rapp. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the starting lineup for the Trinity.
Good afternoon, Tiger fans. I'm Brian Yanselson, joined by Luke Terry, and it was a successful day at the ballpark yesterday for Trinity, so we're going to try to do it one more time here to close out a perfect weekend as the Dallas Crusaders play one more game against the number 22 Trinity Tigers. Luke, it was a fun day to be here yesterday if you're a Tiger fan.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest themes that we saw yesterday, at least in that first game, Brian, were 3-run home runs, defense, and pitching. And the Tigers had all of those in that one, and they got some really great defense and some really great pitching again in the game 2 that we saw. I think today, on both sides, pitching is going to be the emphasis. We have Corey Cater on the mound for the Tigers this afternoon, typically the Friday afternoon, evening starter, and great presence as a fifth-year senior in the program. On the other side, on the bump for the Crusaders, Montenegro has really transformed himself in the second half of this year. Started a little bit rough, had an ERA up around the 20 mark, which is elevated, but certainly understandable for a freshman. I think the more impressive thing is the way he's turned things around this season, bringing it all the way down in his last 4 starts to a 3.8 across those appearances. He's certainly going to have the work set out in front of him today. This is a Tiger lineup that got hot, scored 25 runs across 2 games, and it's been a reoccurring theme across more than just those.
Should be a fun Sunday matinee at the ballpark, and we'll take you through the lineup of the Dallas Crusaders before we get going. Leading off at shortstop, Michael Anderson. Batting second and playing second base, Tyler Darnell. Batting third in center field, Grady Birmingham. Batting cleanup in right field, John Talley. Batting fifth at third base, Maverick Martinez. Batting sixth behind the plate, Cade Corbett. In left field, batting seventh, Pierce Coleman. Batting eighth and at first base, Zach Salomon. And the DH batting ninth, Andrew Gaspar. And as you mentioned, Luke, going up against the starting pitcher for the Tigers, Corey Cater. who is 0-4 on the year, but it's just been the results that have gone against him. Sometimes the starters don't get the win-loss, but he's just happened to get the losses when he's out there. But he's been a steady presence for the Tigers. He's started every weekend, and someone they trust and are hoping can get back on track today on this Sunday afternoon. First pitch of the afternoon is a strike to Michael Anderson, and we're officially underway in San Antonio.
Yeah, Brian, and you talk about Cater and the season that he's had early on, looked really good in that first weekend out there in Birmingham against some really stiff competition. And he's been incredibly competitive in every game that he's appeared in. Obviously, he's gotten hit a little bit. He's given up some runs, but it's been really due to the fact that he's been competitive in and around the zone a ton. And it's hurt him kind of in the middle innings, later innings of games. And I think that more often than not, it's resulted in learning experiences for Cater. I think that that's something that I saw when he came and joined us on the broadcast a couple weekends ago. He seemed to take a lot away from his start and from the times that he got in trouble in that game. So certainly would look for him to continue to use those experiences moving forward this season.
Absolutely. It was great to have Corey on the broadcast last week. We had Sammy Conti as well. And then Joseph Shavana joining us yesterday after his incredible performance. So been great to really get an inside look at what these pitchers are thinking about as they're on the mound and in the weeks between their starts. Right here, a ball in the dirt as Cater tries to put Anderson away. I know one thing the pitchers across the board have been working on is once you get to 2 strikes, really trying to put the guys away quickly. Helps the pitch count and allows you to go deeper into games. But right here, Anderson fighting a couple off, now laying off another one.
And a really nice at-bat from Anderson right here. We saw earlier on what looked to be one of those two-seam fastballs from Cater that I think Pettit and Cater both thought ran back over the plate. The home plate umpire didn't agree.
That one does run over the plate, though, and that's strike 3 looking. So a good start for Cater. Sets down Anderson for the first out.
But I think what you talked about in that at-bat right there, Brian, trying to go after guys and punch them out with or when you get to that 2-strike count is incredibly important. Anderson doing a really nice job to run up the pitch count, just a couple more before ultimately recording the out, but a really nice quality at-bat, forcing Cater to throw 5, 6, 7 pitches right there to open the day.
Darnell swings at the first pitch, but it's right to the shortstop, and the throw is made in time. So Tanner Haney takes care of business there, getting it on to MJ Metz, and 2 quick outs. Darnell trying to keep his good vibes going. He had a decent doubleheader. The Crusaders didn't have a lot going offensively, but Darnell did have a few base hits.
Yeah, and I mean, on the day, you can look at the fact that Trinity outscored the Crusaders 25-3, but then you look into some of the other columns on the day. Tigers out-hit them in Game 2, 13-6, and it was even more separation in that first one. Joseph Shavana, the Game 1 starter, absolutely shut down this Dallas Crusader lineup, allowing them just 2 hits on the day.
And it's one of the things we talked about yesterday. Once one pitcher kind of sets the bar and performs well, you want to see the pitchers that follow try to match that or even beat that. Just create a little in-house competition, and it obviously would help the team all around.
Certainly. It certainly is an awesome luxury when your pitcher goes deep. It's saved them in the bullpen. We haven't seen a ton of arms as Shavana went the full 7 innings as that game was cut short.
Right here, Birmingham able to wait back on a off-speed pitch that stayed up in the zone, and he lines it for a single to left center. It's a 2-out base hit for the center fielder. Will keep things going for the Crusaders in the first.
Yeah, and I like the idea of going with that breaking ball off-speed pitch right there from Cater, but I'm sure if you talk to him after this one, Brian, he'd let you know that that one hung up a little bit on him, considering the fact that Birmingham turned on a pitch and was early on one earlier in the at-bat, sending it down that left field line. You know as a starting pitcher that if you're going to throw something off speed, again, you can't leave it up over the plate. You have to make sure that you bury it in the dirt.
Tally able to connect with this one, sending it the other way, but it'll be out of play foul. Tally awfully quiet yesterday in the doubleheader, going a combined 0 for 6. Coming into the series, he was hitting .339. The fifth-year senior from Pineville, Louisiana, who does a lot of damage in the middle of this Dallas lineup, but Shavana and Conti were able to keep him quiet.
As Tally steps back into the box with 1-1 count right here. I really like Cater to go back to that two-seam fastball, try and run some things inside on the hands of Tally. Cater definitely hands down the largest pitcher on this staff. Big righty standing on the bump at about 6'5", 6'6". Has awesome velocity and run on that fastball. I think we saw it in that first pitch of the at-bat. Tally well laid on it, sending it, even though it was on the outside part of the plate, down that right field line. So I think that if Cater can find a way to get that two-seam run all the way in on the hands of the right-handed hitters today, that he'd probably have tremendous success in this one.
And we'll see here 2-1 the count. Birmingham over there at first, not going there. Foul back towards the screen. Birmingham does have 4 stolen bases on the year, has been caught just once. So we'll have to see if the Crusaders want to get something going early, try to manufacture some runs on the base paths.
I know something that has improved for the Tigers over recent weeks, though, is the control of runners on the base paths. And it has been in large part due to the fact that pitchers are more cognizant with those runners on. But Tyler Pettit does a great job behind the plate blocking baseballs. And yesterday we saw him throw a runner out. So I'm sure that Birmingham over there at first base, cognizant of that, he's going to need to get a really nice jump if he's going to try and take second safely here.
You're right that it has been a huge emphasis in practice to try to cut down on the speeds to the plate, and then for the catchers on the speed of the throw to second. Opponents are 32 for 41 on stolen base attempts this year. There goes Birmingham on the 3-2. But another foul ball from Tally keeps the at-bat alive. 19 pitches now in the first inning. It was hot yesterday, and it is still hot today in South Texas. 80 degrees. Humidity up at 48%. Not as bad as yesterday in the humidity front, but still a little muggy. So these guys don't want to be out there too long. Cater trying to go back to the dugout. The ground ball to the left side. Haney ranges over, makes the throw, and gets it in time. So a couple of ground balls to Haney. Strand a runner in first base. So Corey Cater with a relatively clean first inning, and the Tigers will come to bat after a quick break on Tiger Network.
First mistake and everything went wrong. Things I put my trust in that just couldn't have been too strong. Think the signs were all out. I didn't see the fallout. Everything, whole world it was lit up. On the sea. My friends, they try to put me wise. The fights meant nothing to me. The danger signs were all out. I didn't see the fallout. Everything
was. Welcome back to Tiger Network. Get a good look at the starting lineup for your Trinity Tigers. Leading off, the designated hitter, Austin Davison. At shortstop and batting second, Tanner Haney. Batting third in center field, Ezra Gore. Batting cleanup, the first baseman, MJ Metz. At third base, batting fifth, Jack Wisniewski. Batting sixth in left field, Brian Schaub. The right fielder, batting seventh, Jack Vonderhaar. Behind the plate once again, and batting eighth, Tyler Pettit. And at second base today, a new spot for him this season, Christian Holloway batting ninth. We've told you that the only constant here is change when it comes to the Trinity starting lineup, and the change happens right away with the leadoff hitter you'll see right now, Austin Davison, getting the opportunity to lead things off.
And with Davison, I think you're getting a really sound all-around player, and obviously fulfilling that DH spot today. We're only going to see him with the bat in his hands, but I think you're going to see a really nice compact swing, really good approach at the plate, one that delivers a lot of line drives beyond anything else. And on top of that, for a catcher by trade, some really nice speed out of Davison. So it makes sense to see him in the leadoff spot here today.
Austin got his first at-bat of the year on March 9th against DeSales. He had not played through almost the entire first month of the season, but since then, getting that pinch hit, he's gotten some more opportunities, got his first start of the season against Southwestern, and the coach is making it an effort to get his bat in the lineup as he looks at a breaking ball for a strike there.
And I think this is a spot in which that short, compact swing really pays dividends for a hitter. Down 1-2 in a count, you just saw that looping breaking ball dropped in there. So trying to stay short right here is exactly what he does, willing to go the other way with it.
Ball stays in fair territory, but it is no issue for John Talley over there. So a first out retired for Montenegro. Wanted to go in, didn't quite get it there, but Davison still flies it out to right.
And I think we've already mentioned a couple of times the fact that the Tigers were able to put up 25 through 2 games yesterday, but important to look back on the first action of the doubleheader and note that the Tigers were scoreless through the first several innings. They had a really tough time getting behind the baseball. Early in that game, they were hitting the bottom third of it, popping it up a lot. So for Montenegro, another left-hander on the mound, similar to signs that we saw yesterday early on. Tigers going to need to make a similar adjustment in order to have success here in this one.
Haney grounds this one right back to Montenegro. Nice job getting off the mound and retiring Haney at first. It was a complete mood shift here in San Antonio during that game one. It was 0-0 through the bottom of the fourth. Kind of a frustrating game for both sides. Lots of pop-ups. Not the cleanest defensive game early on, and then the Tigers just flipped a switch in the bottom of the fourth. It was all catapulted by the 3-run home run by Christian Holloway, and then poof, before you knew it, it was 12-0 Trinity, and the game ended in 7 innings. So it was quite the change, making it the 5th game in a row that the Tigers have scored more than 10 runs. So the offense is definitely there for Trinity. Breaking ball lands in there for a strike. On the other end for Dallas, it's the 4th game in a row that they've allowed at least 10 runs. And 2 of those 4, they allowed 20 runs against Schreiner. So definitely an attempt to get that pitching staff to hold their opponent down would do a lot for this Crusader squad.
And similarly, something that we saw with signs yesterday was the fact that the young lefty was leading with that breaking ball from Montenegro. We're seeing much of the same here in the bottom of the first. So these Tiger hitters certainly going to have their timing affected today. See a fastball right there. Gore lays off of it. Drive the count to 3-1 now here. I think that was an issue that we saw in the last at-bat with Tanner Haney. That pitch that he grounded out on to shortstop looked to be well out in front of it, that front shoulder flying open and resulting in that rollover, an easy ground ball in the infield. But Ezra Gore doing a nice job there, recognizing those pitches out of the zone, making his way onto base, giving the Tigers a base runner here early on with some speed as well.
We've seen plenty of times when the Tigers have nothing going early in the inning. A couple of outs retired pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden, a rally gets going. It happened yesterday before that 3-run shot from Holloway, there was exactly that scenario. Nobody on, 2 outs, but a walk and a hit by pitch got things going, and then the 3-run shot. So we'll see if the Tigers can manufacture something similar here. Speed on the base paths at first, and you'll get a good angle at that. Montenegro, the lefty on the mound, looking right at Ezra Gore, who takes a big lead as always, and the check on him. Really couldn't ask for a better angle, and perfect timing right there.
No, absolutely not. And good job from Gore over there at first base, recognizing that pickoff move. But wouldn't be surprised to see him go on first movement right here with the speed that he does have, even if Montenegro checks over.
And he does go, and Montenegro does catch him, but Gore too fast for the pickoff throw. So he reaches second safely.
Yeah, I think that one clear and obvious from the start. Gore taking that extra step before Montenegro even coming set, making sure that he'd have a little bit less ground to make up, even if Montenegro checked over. See that little extra step right there, and a perfect jump as soon as Montenegro makes the move over to first base.
An accurate throw likely retires Gore, but Solomon couldn't get it to second base with enough time and with enough accuracy to get Gore. So now a runner is in scoring position for Mets, trying to come through with 2 outs.
And certainly applying pressure to the Crusaders early on in this one. Mets at 6'5" with those long legs, runs surprisingly well for his size. So anything is a threat for the Tigers right here. A ground ball in the infield. Mets certainly going to apply the pressure by a hard 90 down to first base. And we've already seen it multiple times this year. Tigers at second base in these 2-out situations, busting it, trying to score from that position.
Anything in the outfield likely easily scores Gore from second. Mets lays off of the ball outside. It's funny that you mentioned the speed of Mets at the plate along with Gore, because with that stolen base, Gore ties Mets for the team lead in stolen bases at 8, and we joked how yesterday the players likely don't keep track of their stats, right? That's what you might think. Well, Ezra tells me, hey, I tied Brian Shaw with the home run lead. I'm like, you're kidding, right? You actually do pay attention to that stuff. So they know out there what they're doing and what they're competing against. So just funny that now Ezra tied for the home run lead and the stolen base lead. Power and speed.
Easy to imagine that the guy coming over from the football team is cognizant of those statistical categories. Just another thing for him to boast, something to add to his resume, leading this team, but also starting in the secondary for the Tiger football team as well.
Check swing. Want to check from the field umpire. The home plate umpire does ask, and no swing, says the field umpire. So Mets will go on over to second.
Yeah, and certainly a close look right there. I don't think you're going to see that called a strike very often with the field umpire over there closer to second base. You have a greater chance if he's down the line at first. But in either scenario, if you're the catcher behind the plate, Corbett back there for the Crusaders today, you got to ask for that home plate umpire to appeal right away rather than looking down there yourself.
First pitch to Wisniewski, up and in for a ball. Luke, you were mentioning it to me before the game, but speaking of speed and football players, the track and field team putting up some impressive numbers yesterday, a couple of football players doing that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we talked about it a little bit, just a little bit off of the school record here at Trinity, but on top of that, good enough for number 1 in the Division III ranks early on in this track season.
So impressive what goes on across campus here. Seems like it was the duo of Legend Grigsby, or not duo, quartet of Legend Grigsby, B.J. Stewart, Brian Rainey, and Sean Majors to get that time. So football players doing their part in the spring to help Trinity out. Scoreless after 1 here in San Antonio. We'll take a quick break and be back for the second. Cater on the mound with a scoreless game here, and a first pitch swing will result in a foul ball. Maverick Martinez trying to jump on the first pitch of the inning.
Yeah, and I think a good approach from Martinez right there. Cater utilizing that two-seam fastball a lot. I think the thing that gets him at trouble in times is when he starts it on the outside part of the plate and it runs right over the heart of the plate. But doing a nice job early on in this one, starting it out of the zone, getting it to run back over the black, and starting it over the middle of the plate, getting it to run inside on the hands of these hitters. So looked really sharp early on in this one, but these Crusaders in the batter's box doing a nice job of fighting those pitches off. And so far we've seen a couple of deep at-bats in the top of the first inning.
Trying to get it up in the zone. Pettit standing up before the pitch, but Martinez able to foul it off. Martinez, the sophomore from Friendswood, Texas. That one misses high, so the count now even at 2.
Yeah, and maybe struggling just a bit with the release point on that breaking ball right now. It looked to be what he was trying to do with that last pitch, but hung way up there in the zone. See him go back to that fastball over the middle of the plate, but have to imagine, Brian, that at some point today he's going to have to find a way to bury some of those curveballs down in the zone.
That one does get inside, but Martinez able to put it back to it. But like so many of the pitchers have told us when they come on the air, they're glad to have Ezra Gore out there in center field to make the catch. So Bolton might drop in for a base hit, ends up as out number 1.
Yeah, and a real nice piece of hitting, but you have Gore out there in the outfield. Already mentioned his speed in or on the base paths. Translates really, really well, and he covers a lot of ground out there. So even on those line drives, difficult to find a way to put the ball on the ground. It's a really nice delivery from Cater right there. Obviously, doesn't get the result that would be ideal. Corbett not offering on that one, but something that's nice to see, a little bit of a tighter breaking ball that in that position should work and pay dividends for Cater when he gets into those 2-strike counts and gets ahead of hitters later on in this game.
Big swing there from Corbett, unable to catch up to the fastball. So we've seen him swing past a breaking ball. Now the fastball that was right there, but fast enough to miss the bat, so a 2-2 count. Goes right back to the fastball. Corbett this time able to foul it straight back.
I like the aggressiveness from Corey on the mound right there. Was well ahead of Corbett in the batter's box for that previous fastball. Went back to the same pitch right there. Corbett doing a nice job of making an adjustment, but sets up Cater really nicely here to do whatever he wants.
Goes back to the fastball. Ends up out of play in the visiting bullpen.
Yeah, and a good job from Cater continuing to attack with that fastball. You can go back to that off-speed breaking ball that we saw earlier in the count. Corbett able to lay off, set him up in a really nice position ahead in the count 2-1, forcing Cater to throw some fastballs right here, but ultimately freezes Corbett right there.
And I think freezes is a great word because Corbett had to think He wouldn't get so many fastballs in a row, but Cater trusting it, going back to it over and over, and ends up striking out the catcher. So 2 outs now in the top of the second. And up comes Pierce Coleman, the freshman from Castle Pines, Colorado. Right, might remember he dove for a ball out in left field yesterday while we had our special guest Jeremy Wolf on the air. And Jeremy saying he felt for Coleman, who had to dive and miss that double from MJ Metz. But we hope Coleman feels good about Wolf saying that everything will be all right in the end.
Oh, I'm sure it's lovely to hear from Division III Player of the Year. There's a big asterisk on that. We'll identify that as his personal fan vote, probably more than the majority of those fans being from Trinity. You can't even imagine that they would vote for Jeremy Wolf after the interactions that we had with him yesterday. But certainly a pleasure to have him on the broadcast. Won't forget anytime soon about the fact that he wore number 5 and is more than deserving of his own banner that I know he recruited your help in hanging behind home plate in our screen on that brick wall.
He really wants it. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it, but we will certainly try. But Cater continues to deal here. A clean second inning. 1-2-3 go the Crusaders. So we'll take a quick break and head back to the bottom of the second here in San Antonio. Brian Schaub will lead things off for the Tigers in the bottom of the second. And if you tuned in yesterday during Game 2, you learned a little bit about Brian Schaub and Garrett Ayler's trip from Richmond to Trinity. Great to learn a little bit about what brought them to San Antonio from Pennsylvania and Austin, respectively. But we're not done with the videos, Luke. There's more to be shown today.
No, I think we discussed them at length yesterday, and you got me a little bit excited in regards to some of the stories that they were going to share. I thought we might have the opportunity to hear those yesterday. So I've clearly been waiting in anxious anticipation, excited to know what they have in store for us with that interview here today.
Well, it's important to keep fans engaged across a 3-game series, so we have to save things for the final game of the weekend. And boy, have we saved things. We have 2 amazing videos that are going to be shown today, the first of which will be after this half inning, so don't go anywhere. We're going to play the explanation of Brian Schaub and Garrett Ayler's obsession with Las Palapas. Heard a little bit about it yesterday with Jeremy Wolf, but you'll hear it straight from Schaub and Ayler today.
Yeah, I'm shocked to know that Jeremy Wolf had never been to a Las Palapas. I don't know about you yourself, Brian, but it was a frequent destination for me in my childhood. Big Las Palapas family here growing up in San Antonio. So excited to know what their personal orders were and what that type of connection they have with the restaurant is.
Well, what's interesting is I also grew up in San Antonio, and I didn't go to Las Palapas a whole lot. My go-to Mexican restaurant is Los Cazadores. personally, that's my favorite. But Las Palapas is pretty good, and after hearing them just talk it up over and over, I'm going to have to give it more of a shot for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a good place for us as college students. I just think that the one downfall of it is it's not as close to campus as I'm sure myself and Brian and Garrett would like.
Well, they opened one on Austin Highway recently, so it's a lot closer than it used to be.
Yeah, certainly a step in the right direction, but I think if we're going to venture for that breakfast taco sponsorship when we're calling basketball games and we surpass that century mark, we might need one closer, and I think that could be the partnership we've been waiting for anxiously.
Exactly. Way to bring it back from basketball season. That was such an important theme of that year. The men's and women's teams just constantly earning us free food that never arrived. Just a disappointment, but we're going to make it happen by next year, I promise.
Yeah, I have faith in us. I think that's something that we're going to have to push for during football season. I think that we'll work effortlessly with our information directors, with the athletic department, figure out what is a fair deal for us as students as that one drops in there ahead of the outfielders. Pettit doing a really nice job there, placing that baseball, going down and getting that one. One of those patented one-handed swings that we've gotten so accustomed to seeing from him.
That's the first thing that came to mind, and I looked right at you, and you hit it right on the head as always. Just Pettit flinging it with one hand. Sometimes it's a home run with one hand, but this time it's a little bloop single, and it sets up the scenario. Christian Holloway, can we get another 3-run homer? Can we do it in back-to-back days and really get Earl Weaver to be thrilled with the Tigers? He does line it hard to the center fielder, though. Right there is Birmingham, so he had the right idea. Just need a little more elevation next time, Christian.
Yeah, I can't be too upset with that one. See a pitch that's middle down in the zone. He does exactly what you want to with it, sends that one on a line, but unfortunately for him, just hit directly to the center fielder.
So now the top of the order will get the chance to bring home the runs. Austin Davison has Vonderhart at second, Pettit at first. And Montenegro goes in and in the dirt. The catcher Corbett able to keep the runners where they're at. Davison puts a good swing on it, fouls it straight back into the fence.
Yeah, and I think right here what Davison needs to be willing to do is swing at that breaking ball, and that count being 1-1 right here. Montenegro throwing probably majority curveballs, sliders, whatever that offering from him has been to this point. I think that's what he's going to prefer to throw right here. It's what he's appeared to be most comfortable with.
He does go to it again. Davison able to lay off.
But a good aggressive take right there, at least starting the hands, but recognizing that pitch being out of the zone stopped them. And now ahead 2-1 in the count. Have to imagine that he has a good shot to see that fastball, but more often than not for Montenegro, we've seen that offering on the outside part of the plate. Have to be willing to go the other way with it.
He does go the other way, but unfortunately right at the second baseman Darnell. So a couple of hard hit balls from Holloway and Davison, but the Crusaders fielded perfectly and keep the score at 0. So ready for Las Palapas, here we go.
It's something we started is actually we started a little Bible study on the team. That we had a good baseball Bible study at Richmond. It was really a great opportunity for faith and growing as guys, and that was something that we thought it would be cool to bring here. And through actually a great Jack Wisniewski, San Antonio local, turned us on to Las Palapas, and it's become a home for us to feast about once a week, and Shabby definitely has an order.
Yeah, no, it's like Garrett said, we had some great leaders, especially in Colin Raddick, who played at Hendricks, used to be in this conference with Trinity, but he's a great guy that really helped us with our faith, and we'd always meet with them at Richmond. But that's something we want to continue. So Las Palapas turned out to be the spot, and it's something I know a lot of us look forward to every week. Going to Las Palapas, but obviously importantly getting into the Word of God and stuff like that. But they're awesome to us. They look forward to us, I'm sure, as well. But Las Palapas, is definitely a place that I'm sure we didn't expect to end up when we were getting into the Bible study. But it's been great. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And they know your order by heart, is this correct?
Yeah, sometimes the order changes. Sometimes with baseball we'll have to go in the afternoons, and maybe it's not breakfast, but some breakfast tacos. So, and they actually have really good pancakes. So if anyone in the San Antonio area wants to get some pancakes, underrated. So, but some breakfast tacos. It's great food, great people. So it's a really awesome spot.
So there you have it. Brian Schaub and Garrett Ayler and their adventures at Las Palapas. They go so often that their orders are known by the staff there. They have to switch it up sometimes with baseball season now here. Can't always go in the morning or at night at the same times, but they're known at Las Palapas. That's how much they go, Luke.
Yeah, I think it's such an awesome story that you're able to shed light on, Brian, that those guys get over there and have that type of fellowship, something that's really originated from Richmond that they've brought with them here to San Antonio, that they've adopted and turned into a Trinity baseball tradition now as well. I think it's awesome to see how these guys bond together through the sport and on the field, but how that forms relationships that last outside of it as well.
That's a great point. I mean, it can't be easy to transfer from school to school. You never know how the guys on the other team are going to welcome you, if they're going to make you a part of the team right away, or if it's going to be a struggle, especially with COVID-19. But clearly, these guys have meshed well and made their mark here in more ways than one, both on and off the field. Right here, the top of the third inning, starting with a walk. But what I love about how that all originated is the very random question that I asked Brian Schaub that led to the Las Palapas answer. Do you have any idea when that originated? Because it wasn't recently. It was a pretty long time ago, actually.
I cannot even imagine what type of question you had for Brian Schaub that would have prompted that answer.
Well, it was back in October during the Fall World Series, and Brian Schaub hits 2 home runs in one of those games. So I go over to him in the dugout, and I say, Brian, what did you eat this morning that led to this power? Like, I want to know. I want to have that power. And he's like, oh, well, we went to Las Palapas, and it's actually something we do all the time. And as soon as he said it, I'm like, this is going to be a story eventually. I don't know when, I don't know how, but we're going to talk about it. And here we are in April talking about what we learned in October.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see things like that come to fruition for you. I know that we both share a similar passion of being able to shed light on the things that maybe aren't exactly entirely sport related, but they have that connection in some capacity, and it's some other incredible story that we get the opportunity to tell and just share new, really relevant and interesting information on these guys as not only athletes, but as individuals and human beings.
Definitely. There's just so much to these guys before and after their time on the field, so it's great to learn a little bit about them, and we hope you enjoy learning about these guys off the field as well. Maybe we could plan a joint Tiger Network baseball trip to Las Palapas pretty soon.
I'd certainly be on board for that. I know that they didn't exactly touch on it. Garrett kind of alluded in that video to Brian Schaub having an order, a very specific order, it seemed like, if he was trying to prompt Brian Schaub to share it with us. So I'm a little bit intrigued by that. Certainly going to have to figure out what those guys get into when they jump over to Las Palapas, see what similarities we might share in that area of our lives.
I know that Schaub says that pancakes are underrated, that you might not know that a Mexican restaurant has pancakes, but they do, and they're good.
Trust me, Brian, I know that the Las Palapas pancakes are some of the premier pancakes in San Antonio.
So there you go. You can vouch for it.
I'm going to have to let him know that he's on to something right there with that one.
Long at-bat continues here for Gaspar against Cater. Amongst all our Las Palapas talk. The runner over there at first, Solomon, reaching base with the walk. So Cater trying to strand him over there, get through this bottom half of the Crusader lineup and keep the score tied at 0. Long hold on the mound, and it'll prompt a time called at the plate.
Now, really only 2 innings into this one, Cater having recorded those 6 outs. Got to look at that pitch count, almost up to 50 on the day to this point. Is that offering low, driving the count full? Again, have to return and circle back to the fact that we see Cater continuing to go to that fastball. Have to imagine that somewhere around that 70% mark of his deliveries on the season coming via that pitch. We see so again right there. Just a little bit offline today, Cater seems to be, but it's been the fact that he hasn't had that curveball slider offering in this one that's gotten him into trouble. These Crusaders doing a nice job fouling those pitches off, and eventually one gets left over the plate, and that's more likely to be barreled than one of those curveballs or sliders left up in the zone. So a good job of these hitters being patient in the box and finally seeing some results on the base paths right now.
Anderson lays down the bunt, and it is a perfect one. And you can hear the Crusader dugout going wild. The bases will be loaded here with nobody out, and the middle of the Dallas lineup coming to bat. Anderson not looking to sacrifice at all. That was 100% for a base hit all the way, and the runners not only move over, but Anderson does reach base. And so now Cater in all sorts of trouble. And he'll have to face Tyler Darnell, who was retired on the first pitch of his at-bat in the first inning, but mentioned that yesterday, out of everyone, had the best day for the Crusaders. He had 3 hits on the day overall between games 1 and 2, and that average now exactly at 300 for the freshman from Southlake. So he'll try to deliver an early blow to the Tigers. Looks at a first pitch strike there on the outside part of the plate.
Yeah, but going back to that bunt from Anderson right there, have to talk about that one again. Just an absolutely perfect play right there. Mentioned that that one was for a base hit all the time. Something that we talked about in yesterday's action is that when you're bunting, pace on the baseball and location of the bunt, way more important than any other factor. If you're the slowest guy on the field, you still have a chance to get on base safely if you put it in the perfect spot. That's exactly what he did. Hard enough to get it past the pitcher and Cater, but in a perfect spot where even if Tanner Haney out there at shortstop has a read on that one, I don't think he makes that play having to charge all the way in.
Big swing from Darnell, sends it straight back. On the previous pitch, you saw Pettit somehow manage to block the pitch way in the dirt. Probably bounced in front of the plate even, but Pettit doing a nice job to keep the runners where they're at. But a big opportunity here for the Crusaders. The count 1-2 to Darnell. Nobody out and the bases loaded. Darnell able to connect with this one, send it into the outfield. Vonderhaar charging, dives, but he will not make the catch. Solomon comes in to score, and the bases will stay loaded as Darnell comes through with 2 strikes.
Yeah, and a nice pitch from Cater right there. Exactly what he needed to throw in this situation. That breaking ball down in the zone, trying to induce something on the ground in the infield. But Darnell right there doing a really nice job trying to combat that. Going out to get that baseball, throwing the bat head out there, and does a nice job to lift that one into right field, just short of Vonderhaar, who made a really nice diving attempt right there. Does a nice job to, at the very least, keep that one in front of him, ensure that only 1 run comes across to score for the Crusaders.
And what we've seen this inning is exactly what head coach Eric Grafton told me, head coach of the University of Dallas, saying that to beat Trinity, you're going to have to beat them in more ways than just hits, and we've seen them manufacture the run here. Right now, Cater gets a ground ball, and the Tigers able to turn the double play. A big play right there with Tanner Haney fielding the ground ball, getting it on to Holloway at second, and getting the 2 outs. A run does come across to score, but a big opportunity to just limit the damage at 2 definitely could be a lot worse with bases loaded and nobody out.
Yeah, really nice job from Cater right there, coming back, continuing to attack the zone even after that one fell in. Bit of a misfortune for him, but all of a sudden, 2 outs here in the top of the third, an opportunity to limit damage, as you mentioned.
Tally able to lay off of that one in the dirt, but this inning beginning with back-to-back walks and then the bunt for a base hit. Little blooper out to right to score a run, so Coach Grafton saying going to have to run a little bit on the bases, have to force things, and they've definitely forced their way on the board, and they're ahead 2-0 in the 3rd inning now. Tally looks at a strike to even the count at 1. It was a long day for Dallas yesterday, but as the game of baseball works, new day, new game, and new attitude. And they are fired up, trying to steal one here from the Tigers before they head back to Irving.
And you used the word steal, Brian, something that we used a lot on the broadcast yesterday in regards to the overall standings in the SCAC. We know that these Tigers, Bulldogs over there at Texas Lutherans, Metz comes up with the grab in foul territory right there to even further limit the damage. Dallas Crusaders trying to steal a game from Trinity right here as they battle for that 4th spot in the SCAC this season.
Definitely the Bulldogs sweeping sweeping St. Thomas, but in a couple of close games this weekend, so the competition really ramping up across the conference. So excited to keep track of everything as we continue to move along. We'll take a quick break and be back as the Tigers look to climb back into this one. Crusaders find themselves up on Trinity 2-0 heading to the bottom of the 3rd. Tanner Haney will try to begin the comeback and probably doesn't want to do it that way, but he'll take the base as he's hit on the first pitch of the inning. Second hit by pitch from the arm of Montenegro. So the Tigers get a leadoff runner as they look to tie things up with the tying run at the plate immediately with Ezra Gore.
And we know what a threat that Gore is in the batter's box. Already alluded to the home run that he hit in yesterday's game. A ball that got out of here in a hurry earlier on in the day. Similar conditions here in San Antonio right now. A similar pitcher on the mound as well. More often than not, leading with that breaking ball that he's dropped in there over the heart of the plate. So have to be careful. Tread lightly with Ezra Gore standing in now.
Montenegro checking on Haney over there. Really trusting that curveball, but it misses, so a 2-0 count to Gore. Montenegro, the freshman from Los Angeles, California. And you talked about it, Luke. Struggled a little bit early on, but Coach Grafton saying he's very happy with how he's performed as of late. He was part of that victory against Schreiner, throwing 6 innings and allowing just 3 runs. Right here misses again to fall behind 3-0, but it was 2 consecutive outings with 6 innings thrown, as he also was part of a victory against Austin College, in which he went 6 innings and allowed just 4 earned runs. So Montenegro really doing his part to keep his team in the game. But he walks Ezra Gore on 4 pitches, so the Tigers have something going in the bottom of the third, and up will come the cleanup hitter, MJ Metz.
Yeah, and certainly have to imagine that this pitching staff is more than cognizant of the pop and the threat of these guys' bats. Both of them haven't registered an official at-bat between the two of them, having drawn 3 walks so far, and Metz in a position to take the lead right here in this one. I have to imagine that Montenegro is getting a reminder of that on the mound right now, but with the way that he's thrown and controlled this game, limiting Trinity to just 1 hit so far on the day, imagine that he'll have a pretty long leash.
And as Montenegro gets a visit here on the mound, interesting to note that Coach Grafton saying what Montenegro's really been having to work on is not throwing as many strikes. So saying that he gets in trouble when he just stays around the zone and is unable to move things in and out between an at-bat. But he says that's exactly what Montenegro has improved on in those outings against Schreiner and Austin College. So far today, we've seen him navigate through the Tiger lineup once without allowing a run, but now running into some trouble the second time through. Hitting Haney and walking Gore, and now a bunt shown by Metz. The ball misses outside. We'll see what Metz does on the 1-0.
Yeah, interesting approach right there. Not sure if he's trying to shrink the zone after Montenegro delivered 4 straight balls, or if he's really trying to move both of those runners into scoring position right here.
Pickoff move will be late at second. Trying to catch Haney napping over there.
And it seems like there's some pretty good communication going on in the bullpen, in the dugout for the Tigers. Hear back from those crowd mics talking to Tanner Haney over there at second base.
Bunt is laid down. It's a beautiful one. Metz gonna beat it out at first. So that was more of a pure sacrifice attempt, but Metz got it right along the line. We talked about his speed, able to beat it out. And now the Tigers have bases loaded with nobody out as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned that that's a pure sacrificed attempt. Martinez over there at third base for the Crusaders, not hesitating at any point on that one. Really no question that was going to stay fair. Just a really well-located bunt from Metz right there. And I've already mentioned the speed that he has on the base paths, able to beat that one out. That nice close play over there at first base.
Wisniewski now with the opportunity to bring the Tigers back. Looks at a ball outside for ball 1. So just like the Crusaders getting their base runners with unique circumstances, the Tigers getting a hit by pitch, a walk, and then a bunt down the third base line. And now Wisniewski loops it into right field, and it gets down for a hit. Haney scores easily. On his way is Gore. He's going to slide in safely. The ball gets away, and Metz will then follow Gore. So a double from Wisniewski that ends up clearing the bases, and the Tigers take the lead.
Yeah, nice piece of hitting from Wisniewski right there. Have to imagine that's another one of those breaking balls that stays up in the zone. Just does a nice job getting his bat out there in front of it. Not entirely sure what the action was defensively right there, whether that throw came straight from right field. It's Talley playing out there for the Crusaders, or if that one was cut off in the infield. Either way, Corbett behind the plate needs to ensure that he comes up the line sacrificing that one run, that second run from Gore in order to make sure that Metz doesn't come around to score as well.
So a tough end of the afternoon for Montenegro. Had been pitching well, but then ran into the buzzsaw that is the Tiger offense here in the third. Trinity will try to keep it going against a new pitcher who will meet after this quick break on Tiger Network. Lot going on before that break. Jack Wisniewski with a single, they're ruling it, advancing to second on the throw, which got past the catcher Corbett and allowed 3 runs to score. And it finds the Tigers ahead, now 3-2 with Brian Schaub at the plate. And the new pitcher, Graham Williams, in from the bullpen. Williams, a sophomore from Frisco, Texas. Spends a little bit of time in the lineup as a hitter and on the mound as a pitcher. Curveball in the dirt, runner going, and the throw not going to be in time. So good base running in this inning. We saw Gore able to score on a shallow hit to right field, then Metz able to follow him, taking advantage of the errant throw. And now Wisniewski taking third on a ball that really didn't get past the catcher very far. But now another run just 90 feet away for Schaub. He looks at that ball outside as the Trinity Tower rings once again at the 2 o'clock hour.
Still no outs here in the bottom of the third inning, and with Schaub standing in here as the 6th hole, really great opportunity for the Tigers in the bottom of this order to try and get on base and turn things over, have that top of the order come back up to the plate. Second time this inning.
Williams going almost exclusively with the breaking ball against Schaub, not really wanting to attack him with anything straight and in the zone. So the count now full at 3-2. We'll see if Schaub is able to lay off of those breaking balls or if Williams maybe attacks him with the fastball now. But we're not used to seeing walks. We know Schaub draws them so easily, it seems. And he draws yet another one here as Williams just not wanting to mess with the power hitter. And so it'll put runners at the corners, and Vonderhaar will step to the plate.
Yeah, another first and third situation right here for Trinity. As Vonderhaar steps out, have to imagine that perhaps something is on here with Schaub over there at first base. I mentioned his power, but certainly someone that we wouldn't be surprised to see moving on the base paths right here.
Remains with that breaking ball. This one does get in there for a strike. Fouled straight back. Count now 0-2. Vonderhaar someone we're used to seeing with the power bat from the left side of the plate. Coming into today, just one home run on the season. That came back on March 3rd against Wisconsin Whitewater. So we'll see if Vonderhaar can deliver some of that power. He had 6 home runs last year. It's a good swing on it. 0-2 pitch catching too much of the plate, if you ask Williams, I'm sure. But Vonderhaar unable to do much with it, just stays alive and keeps the at-bat going.
Yeah, nice job to just battle that one off. Late swing and a little bit of a defensive one, but at the very least allows him to stay alive in this at-bat and see another pitch.
Vonderhaar waits back on the off-speed, sends it to first base. A little bit of a bobble over there, but nothing too bad as the pitcher Williams able to cover and Salomon able to get it over to the hustling pitcher.
Yeah, and a good approach by Salomon over there at first base, charging that baseball. I think the worst thing that comes of that one is you get a single out, but doing his best to try and get Schaub on the base paths, turn 2, and get the Crusaders that much closer to being back in the dugout. But certainly will walk away happy with at least one out right there.
Probably the biggest concern for Dallas on that one is the runner from third, Wisniewski. Originally was not coming home off of that ground ball to first, but after that bobble, he did in fact come home. So the score now 4-2. Runner at second as well with Schaub out there. And Pettit will try to keep things going in the bottom of the third. Tigers already scoring 4 in this half inning. And Williams continues to go to the breaking ball. Williams' last outing came against Schreiner. He gave up 2 earned runs in 2 innings. But the damage came with 3 bases-loaded walks in a row. And right here, he falls behind Pettit. 3-0. And another 4-pitch walk in this inning, this time Williams to Pettit. And it'll put 2 runners on for Christian Holloway. So once again, Christian has the opportunity to have back-to-back days with 3-run homers. But right here, I'm sure just looking for some hard contact.
Yeah, and the way he's swung it in the past couple of days, despite the fact that he's stepping in as the 9-hole hitter, very few batters in this lineup for the Tigers that you'd rather have at the plate. Put a really good swing on it in his first appearance, unfortunately just right at the center fielder, basically standing dead in his tracks out there in the outfield.
And yesterday, the starting pitcher, Joseph Chavana, giving us the funny story that he was in the dugout. It was during his start, and he thought that Holloway had actually just flied out to end the inning, and then he didn't realize that it was actually the 3-run homer. And so then he obviously got happy for multiple reasons. Not only did he have a lead on the mound, but his roommate and friend had a 3-run shot to boast about. So a good day all around for those roommates.
Oh, absolutely. But I think, Chavana not being entirely aware of it, understandable considering the fact that he was sitting behind big MJ Mets in the dugout. Certainly a better door than he is a window in that dugout. Make it a difficult task to really get the best angle of what's going on the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of room down there in the dugout, so it's understandable that some guys are in front of each other. But it ended up being the cheers from not only the dugout, but across the ballpark that alerted Chavana that it was a home run, not an out. And right here, Holloway ahead in the count 2-1. Corbett, the catcher, setting up in. Williams gets it there and gets a strike. So a nice job by Williams pinpointing that one. And he gets the count even at 2.
Yeah, and a good pitch right there. I think more often than not we've seen these Crusader pitchers operate on that middle part of the plate, middle away to these right-handed hitters. A good change right there to go in on the hands of Holloway.
And Williams now goes back to the breaking ball after dotting the fastball in, and he gets Holloway to swing at it in the dirt. Holloway walks back, picks up his bat, and he'll make way for the leadoff hitter, Austin Davison, who has another chance to do some damage with runners on first and second. Now 2 outs. Davison has to duck and avoid that, but a strike going to be called. Looks like the ball nicked the bat. So a foul ball, tough break for Davison.
Yeah, especially on those that you can clearly tell that the batter in the box is trying his best to pull the bat down with him. Looked to be what was happening right there for Davison, but just unfortunate for him. That one barely grazed the bat.
Corbett again setting up in. Williams gets it in, but also high. So Davison takes it for a ball. I think one of my favorite moments that I've discovered this year is seeing the players react when the lineup is posted in the dugout. Everybody swarms to where Coach Candle, Coach Waters put the dugout, and Davison, a little shocked to see him at the leadoff spot. But he is excited for the opportunity and a chance to deliver here. Looks at a breaking ball for a strike. But he tells me, he's like, I'm not used to being a leadoff hitter. I'm a catcher.
I think more than anything in that position, you want guys who are going to fight and battle in at-bats and counts when they get to positions like this with 2 strikes on them, and that's exactly what we see from Davison right there. Another really competitive pitch from Williams on the bump for the Crusaders right now. He's done a nice job of coming in, limiting damage. Seen that breaking ball really work for him. And with another pitch to work with and a 2-2 count right here, I have to imagine he's going to continue to go back to it.
Another one sails way over the head of Davison, and that time you saw Austin make a big concerted effort to keep his bat down, learning mid-at-bat.
Yeah, and that one maybe no chance of really hitting his bat, but clearly don't want to take any risks trying to pull it down on that last ball over his head that did hit his bat. So you never really know what's going to happen in the batter's box. Better play it safe than sorry.
Runners will be off with the pitch. 3-2. Davison swings past it. So Williams able to limit the damage here in the third inning. But the Tigers do get 4 runs on 2 hits and a Dallas error. They leave 2 men on base, but they take the lead as we head to the top of the 4th in San Antonio. Top of the 4th here in South Texas, and Cater now on the mound with a lead once again. After the Tigers fell behind 2-0 in the 3rd, they get it right back and lead 4-2. Things change in a hurry here, Luke.
Oh, absolutely. And for Cater right here, important with that pitch count up at that 63 mark right now. Just keep attacking the zone. I think we'd love to see some more off-speed offerings from him, certainly, but I think more often than not, we've seen him get ahead of hitters in regards to the velocity on that fastball. These Dallas hitters haven't barreled the ball a ton here in this one. So if he stays around the zone and forces them to try and do that, I think he's going to have some success.
Martinez with a good swing, and it'll end up with a ball that hits the fence and leaves Martinez at second with a stand-up double. He does a little dance out there at second towards his dugout. But a very crisp motion through the zone with his bat. The Crusaders will try to tie things up themselves after losing the lead here in the fourth.
Yeah, and a really nice piece of hitting from Martinez right there. Does a nice job of getting the barrel all the way out in front of the zone. Catches a lot of that baseball on that last hit. But for Cater, didn't seem like he had the same movement on that fastball right there that we saw out of him earlier on in this one. Just not sure if he went to more of a four-seam fastball or not right there. Just lacking that movement.
Corbett swings at the first pitch. It'll move the runner over as Holloway retires Corbett at first, but a runner at third with one out. And these last couple of innings reminding me of what the Tigers did at practice this week, a new introduction, and Corey Cater was actually a part of it. So a little game they called Horse Bullpen. So you might know the classic game of horse on the basketball court where you have to make a shot and then the opponent has to hit that same shot or else you get a letter on your name and whoever gets to horse first loses. Well, they tried the same thing with the bullpen session, Corey Cater going up against Joel Thomas. And to raise the stakes a little bit, they brought the entire team over to the bullpen to make some noise, cheer at them, boo at them, do whatever they wanted to do just to add pressure and simulate some of the noise that happens during a game. And I was reminded because of the Dallas dugout that is making a ton of noise after anything good happens on their side. And so Cater dealing with that early in the week, and it comes to an important part once it is the game and you hear that noise, so important to practice it for sure.
Absolutely. And it's important to have those competitive type situations in practices that make things a little bit more enjoyable. Obviously a little bit monotonous to just get in the bullpen, work through hitting your spots, but a little bit of added motivation when you're competing against your teammate and you have the rest of the squad around you, looking in on you, makes you really want to perform to the best of your ability and clearly sets you up well to be in the similar situations here in game.
Right here, the Dallas dugout will continue to make noise, and that's because a wild pitch gets past Pettit. And you see their cheers in the dugout. Now 4-3 as the run comes across to score. Martinez coming home from the double, advancing on the ground ball, and scoring on the wild pitch. Lots of movement from in to out from Cater, but Coleman somehow able to get a piece of it and continue the at-bat. And this replay showing you the wild pitch. Pettit unable to get in front of it. And Martinez scoring, standing up.
Yeah, and Pettit typically incredibly sound behind the plate, especially on those breaking balls. Have to wonder if there might have been some sort of mix-up between pitcher and catcher right there, or if Cater just throwing a much sharper breaking ball threw things off for the both of them in that situation.
Coleman taking the count full, and he grounds it to the right side. Holloway with a little bit of a wide throw. Metz having to reach out, but the umpire says he kept his foot on the bag for the second out. So you never know. Coleman hustling out of the bag, out of the box, forcing the throw even from second. You never know what'll happen. The first base coach thought it was safe, but Metz keeping his foot there. And then it'll bring up Zach Salomon. And he swings at the first pitch. It's flied out to Ezra Gore in center field. And the third out is recorded, but the Dallas Crusaders get a run back, pull to within 1 as we head to the bottom of the 4th on Tiger Network.
Trinity 4, Dallas 3.
Crusaders creep a little closer in the top half of the inning. And the Tigers will try to expand their lead. Haney swings at the first pitch. Not an easy play over there, but Martinez does make it. So Haney got things going in the 3rd. That led to 4 runs, but this time he's retired. You see Martinez having to wait back for the perfect bounce, and he gets it on to Solomon.
Yeah, it just looked to be a lot of movement in Haney's top half right there. That pitch on the inside part of the plate, doing a lot to try and put the barrel of the baseball on it, but forced that front shoulder to fly open, ultimately got on top of the baseball. Certainly not a difficult play, or excuse me, not an easy play to make for Martinez over there at 3rd base, but one that Williams on the mound expects him to be able to. That's exactly what happens for the first out here in bottom of the 4th.
Taking a look at some action around Trinity, excited to report that the softball team has swept Dallas. They put up a 10-1 win on this Sunday afternoon to complete the 3-game sweep of the Crusaders. So congratulations to the softball team. The baseball team will try to match them with the sweep of Dallas here. And then looking at the men's tennis team, they're up in Abilene, and they've defeated Tyler Junior College 4-3. And they will also face Abilene Christian this afternoon, so a D1 opponent, Division I. Men's tennis nearly defeating a Division I opponent the other day, hosting Nichols State. They took the doubles matches 2 out of 3, but then the Colonels were able to pull things out. But the men's tennis team awfully competitive with opponents above their division. We love to see the success around campus as Gore flies this one out to right. And it'll drop in front of the right fielder, Talley.
Something that we saw earlier in the day for this Crusader side. Another well-placed breaking ball down and a little bit out of the zone as well. Gore doing a nice job getting out in front of that one, making sure that he has the barrel of his bat out there. He puts just enough on the baseball to float it into right field. Give the Tigers base runner right here.
And that base runner will quickly move on to second as Gore will advance on the wild pitch from Williams. These 3 games this weekend marking the beginning of an 8-game homestand for the baseball team. After the series concludes, they will host Our Lady of the Lake University on Tuesday. And then they'll host yet another SCAC weekend matchup with the University of St. Thomas coming to San Antonio. That will take place on Friday, April 8th, and a doubleheader on Saturday, April 9th. Make sure to either come out to the ballpark and support the Tigers, or, as always, tune in to Tiger Network. We'll be here with you for all of the action. Metz looks at that one in the dirt, keeps Gore at second. Crazy that we're already almost halfway through the SCAC schedule, Luke.
Yeah, and a lot of good baseball yet to be played. Certainly looking forward to that Texas Lutheran series that will come up towards the end of the schedule. Obviously, it's not a series that was able to be played last year. Certainly that miss out any time that those two teams aren't able to get together. That one, unfortunately, was supposed to be played towards the beginning of the SCAC schedule last season. I think it's more fitting that it comes as a true test for both of these programs at the end of their schedules at the most important time of the year, right before they enter the SCAC postseason tournament. So a lot of baseball games yet to be played, improvements to be made on both sides, I'm sure, but Tigers have seen a lot of bats really prove that they deserve to be in this order. Had some up and down seasons so far, but a lot of time for these guys to continue and figure things out, try and get hot at the perfect time this season.
Metz is able to earn the walk off Williams, so runners now on first and second with still one out in the fourth. Texas Lutheran currently standing atop the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference with their record of 8-1 within the conference. Trinity just behind them at 7-1, so if they're able to pull this one out, they'll pull back into a tie. But I think what will be a great series even before that is the one we will get to see next weekend between St. Thomas and Trinity. St. Thomas has had a nice start to their season. They're 5-4 within the conference, and they gave the Bulldogs a real scare this weekend. On Friday, losing just 1-0, and yesterday in Game 2 of the doubleheader, falling just 11-9. And so the Celts really pushing the Bulldogs to their limit. Currently in third place of the SCAC, as this pickoff attempt behind Gore at second nearly gets him. But Gore able to get back in there safely. But as we've talked about, with Southwestern struggling in that fourth spot up for grabs, perhaps St. Thomas could be one of those teams, and they are clearly competitive with the top teams in the conference. So I think the Celts visiting San Antonio next week will be one to keep an eye on for SCAC fans everywhere.
Yeah, and for the Celts early on this year had the opportunity to play a Division I opponent, if I'm not mistaken. Got the opportunity to play Nichols State in their early season schedule. And it's just that level of competition that proves incredibly fruitful for these smaller programs. Trinity not having the opportunity to play anyone at that level of baseball, but they've played a couple opponents at the top level within Division III, welcoming Babson and Wisconsin Whitewater in here to San Antonio early on this season. I think you have to look at those series, no matter whether you win or lose, as great opportunities to learn and just see a high level of baseball that really prepares you as you move deep into your conference seasons.
Definitely, and then add those road games early in the season in Birmingham against top 10 programs in Wash U and Birmingham Southern. And the Tigers have really been tested, but they currently have a 15-7 record, are ranked 22nd in Division III. And they're trying to pull out yet another sweep within the conference. They swept the Pirates to start things off. Took 2 out of 3 from Centenary. And now trying to get the third of 3 between Dallas, but it's a close one right now. Bottom of the 4, 2 outs and 2 runners on. Brian Schaub at the plate. Gore reached base with a single to right. MJ Metz reaching on a walk. You saw Wisniewski pop up with the infield fly, and now Schaub trying to come through with 2 outs. Williams missing high.
Yeah, in a similar situation yesterday in Game 1 of the doubleheader, bottom of the 4th inning, still a 0-0 ball game at that point. Crusaders able to record 2 outs, but after that, I already mentioned the Christian Holloway home run that opened things up for the Tigers. So a couple more runners on base right here. 2 outs and a home run threat at the plate in Brian Schaub, but a couple of nice checkovers at second base. one earlier this inning. Looked to be timed correctly, just dropped by shortstop Anderson. Otherwise, I think they might have had Ezra Gore over there.
Gore going over to third. Metz trying to take second behind him, and he'll be safe. We'll get a look at the replay. A heads-up move by Corbett, trying to get the trail runner. Gore easily taking third. Metz a little closer at second. And you saw everyone on the Dallas side thought that that was an out, even heading into the dugout, but no such thing. Now runners on second and third, 2 outs, and a bigger opportunity for Schaub, as a base hit could score 2.
Yeah, and certainly a difficult read for Metz over there at first base. See that one in the dirt, and the same thing happens here. Gore going to score more easily, and Metz will advance to third.
That's the risk of the breaking ball. Williams has gone to it repeatedly since he's come in from the bullpen, and Corbett unable to get in front of that last one. And Gore will score standing up. Metz moves up 90 feet as well. Williams had checked on Gore a couple of times while he was at second, and you can tell why. The base running coming clutch for the Tigers in the bottom of the fourth. Strike called on the outside part. 3-2 the count to Brian Schaub.
But still important right here with the runner threatening over there at third base.
Strike 3 looking, says the home plate umpire. Schaub unable to get his bat off his shoulder. Get a look at the replay here. Williams putting it right where he wanted on the outside corner. A run does come across to score for the Tigers. The lead back up to 2, but the Crusaders hanging in there as we head to the top of the 5th. Once again will step on the rubber with a 2-run lead as his offense delivering a run on the wild pitch. Gore coming across to score. We're at 5-3 in the top of the 5th. Andrew Gaspar, the freshman from Anaheim, California, steps to the plate, and that one sails way over the head of both Gaspar and Pettit. The Gaspar from Anaheim, Cater from Sacramento, so the California connection. And we've talked a lot about the AL East this week, but maybe a little NL West discussion as Corey Cater, a San Francisco Giants fan. And he's excited about this season, Luke. He told me he was not fazed by the Freddie Freeman signing by the Dodgers. Told me he was disappointed, wanted him to go back to the Braves just so he doesn't end up on the Dodgers, but he did. But he thinks Lamont Wade and Darren Ruff are going to lead the Giants to another NL West crown.
Certainly. And I mean, you look at that division overall, stacked as a unit. The San Diego Padres, certainly not a team to forget about either, but I think you look at the Dodgers, and I'd certainly have to agree with Corey on that one. Freddie Freeman, a huge signing, but look at what they've had the past 5 years and how many World Series with an asterisk they have to show for it. So I think they'll be in fine position. I'd agree with Corey. The Giants have a great roster as well, and certainly should have a season to look forward to.
Some hot takes there under the radar, just casually mentioning an asterisk by the championship. Why might that be?
Well, I mean, the 1 year when the Dodgers are able to stay fully healthy, they only had to play 60 games, and they were able to win a World Series. And certainly, you don't want to say that they're not deserving in other years because they weren't able to stay healthy and whatever else, but it really is what it comes down to, just a perfect storm more often than not. I think back to our freshman year when the Washington Nationals made that run and they beat the Astros in the World Series. Just a perfect storm from them beating a Dodgers team that looked really, really good early on in the playoffs, and then from that point on, almost unstoppable. But Dodgers certainly will have a roster that is a formidable one and something that you don't want to mess with, and one that you don't want to have to see as frequently as those NL West teams are going to this season.
One thing I will agree with you on that, the Nationals championship doesn't even register in my mind. Might as well have not happened. We're just going to pretend it didn't. We'll stick to the West Coast. No need to bring the Nationals in.
Fair enough.
But lots of California natives on this Dallas roster, actually. Quite a few more than you might expect. Gaspar from Anaheim, as we mentioned. The catcher, Cade Corbett from Corona, California. Caleb Homan from Huntington Beach. The starting pitcher today, of course, Montenegro, mentioned he was from Los Angeles. Ryan Flores, the starter of Game 2 yesterday, from San Diego. So lots of California natives on this Crusader team. For the Tigers, not quite as many, but Cater from the northern part of the state. Cater ends up walking the leadoff hitter Michael Anderson after retiring the first batter of the inning, Gaspar, on a ground ball. And that last walk will bring Dave Smith out to the mound, and he has his right hand up, signaling to the bullpen that the time has come for a replacement. Cater will come out of the game in the middle of the 5th inning. So he leaves having given up 3 runs, will still be responsible for that runner over at first. We'll take a break on Tiger Network and meet the new Trinity pitcher.
Now pitching for Trinity, number 8, Harrison Guerrero.
Harrison Duro answers the call to the bullpen and finds himself on the mound here in the top of the 5th inning. First batter he faces is Tyler Darnell, and Duro goes with the breaking ball to start things off.
From that last shot we saw right before Duro delivered that first offering, you can see him operating even in his warm-ups out of that slide step, certainly conscious of the runner Anderson over there at first base. Coming into this series leading the Crusaders in the stolen base category. So certainly in a 2-run ball game, tight one here in San Antonio. Every inch matters, and wouldn't be surprised to see him on the move soon.
You see him bouncing around out there. Duro able to ignore him and get another breaking ball for his strike, not only leading the team in stolen bases, as you mentioned, Luke, but a perfect 11 for 11 on stolen base attempts this year. So the shortstop out there leading off the lineup for a reason. That speed paying dividends, and we'll see if he uses it here. Not going on the breaking ball. To the count taken to 2-2.
I'd certainly have to imagine it's a relatively tall task with Duro working from that slide step. With such few number of stolen base attempts on the season, I have to imagine that he's picking and choosing rather carefully who he's running against, especially trying to preserve what is a perfect 11 for 11 campaign to this point.
And also knowing that you have some of your best hitters coming up. Darnell has been swinging a hot bat. Birmingham and Talley behind him with the ability to drive in runs, so you don't want to ruin those opportunities. The 3-2 looks to have been outside, so wouldn't have mattered on the throw. But Pettit, of course, not knowing for sure, throws it over the infielders, but the runner will stay there at second. But as we noted, we expected the runner to be off, and he did in fact take the second base. But Darnell able to lay off of a couple of pitches and find himself on first as well. So now Birmingham steps up with an opportunity to move some runners over or move them in. He singled in his first at-bat, grounded into a double play his last time in the third. Duro would love to repeat that. He goes with a curveball that lands for a strike.
And you mentioned this part of the lineup, 1 through 5 hitters for Dallas today. 4 for 10 to this point. So a really big spot in this one, but Duro doing a nice job. All of his offerings to this point have been competitive right around the plate. You've seen that off-speed pitch that he's dropped in the bottom of the zone. Certainly one that's especially useful here with an out already in the inning. Even though Anderson able to move over to third base with that ball in the dirt. Darnell staying put over there at first and preserving the potential double play to get the Tigers out of the inning right here.
Preserving the double play, but now wouldn't be surprised with runners at the corners to see the runner at first taking off, and he does. Birmingham off with that pitch, and he takes second, or Darnell takes second, Birmingham at the plate. So as soon as Anderson moved over to third, Darnell goes on the next pitch, and now 2 runners in scoring position, no double play opportunity. And it's what you got to love about baseball. It's these intricacies of as soon as Anderson reached first, causing the chaos on the bases. And we've seen what it results now, a chance for Birmingham to tie things up with one swing of the bat. He is behind 1-2. Duro gets it high up in the zone. The fly ball to Vonderhaar out and right. He'll throw it into the infield, won't even try to make it home. Instead hits the cutoff. So a run will score. Dallas pulls to within 5-4, but an out is recorded on the fly ball.
And a little bit surprised to see Duro go with the fastball up in the zone to Birmingham right there. Mention again that these are the hitters in this lineup that have had success today. They've been able to put the barrel on the baseball in this series. And on a 1-2 count, you have to imagine that you have a couple of pitches to waste right there. Go back to that breaking ball, try and get a strikeout, and preserve that 2-run lead that you had. But nonetheless, now you're just 1 out away. A good job by Vonderhaar out there in right field, throwing into the infield and keeping the runner Darnell over there at second base.
Big swing by Talley over the top of the curveball. Good pitch from DeRoe to get ahead 0-2. The Crusaders don't rank near the top of many offensive categories this year, but one category they have succeeded at, sacrifice flies. That is sacrifice fly number 14 on the year, ranked second in the SCAC. So the Crusaders selfless at the plate, but DeRoe able to get Talley looking with strike 3 to keep the lead intact for the Tigers. Crusaders get one back and get a little closer, but the Tigers still ahead, 5-4, headed to the bottom of the 5th. We have a good one on our hands here in San Antonio, and the Tiger offense will continue to work. Well, they'll have to add on to their lead to keep it comfortable as the Crusaders keep adding 1, 2 at a time to keep it close. They trail just 5-4 in the bottom of the 5th. Breaking ball from Williams falls from the sky and into the strike zone.
Yeah, and for Dallas, Williams has been really strong since he came into this one. Back in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Just 1 hit given up, 1 earned run. He's walked 3 batters, but that's been really the only issue that he's run into so far in this one. He's also struck out 3, so certainly about time that the Tigers need to figure him out and find a way to get some runners onto the base paths again.
You continue to see that curveball just starts way up. Looks like it'll be a ball for sure. Vonderhaar giving up on it. And then you close your eyes for a second, see that it's a strike. It's happened twice in this at-bat, and it finds Vonderhaar at 2-2. Williams now trying to change the eye level a little bit, go with the hard stuff up in the zone.
But even on those big breaking balls, if you happen to stick with them and see them all the way into the zone with as much vertical break as they have, certainly a difficult task to try and barrel them up.
Vonderhaar chops it to the right side. Tough play for Darnell, but he makes it with the throw to Solomon to get Vonderhaar hustling down the line.
Good job from Vonderhaar, busting that one to the bag all the way through. See, as soon as he made contact on it, flipping the bat and putting his head down to sprint, not concerned at all where that ball was in the infield, just trying to provide a base runners for the Tigers here.
Ball misses inside to Pettit. The starter, Adrian Montenegro, had a clean first time through the order against Trinity before The trouble happened in the third, and it was once the Tigers got to see him for a second time. So now Williams has had a good outing since coming into that third inning in replace of Montenegro. But now Schaub and Vonderhaar, the first two Tigers to see him for a second time. Pettit joins them now. And we'll see if the Tigers can make something happen as they see Williams for a second time. Pettit with a big swing, but it ends up high in the sky. Darnell under it, shading the sun and catching the pop fly. So 2 quick outs for Williams. We saw a lot of these pop flies early in the game yesterday before the Tigers corrected course and started hitting the ball hard on a line across the field. But Williams fooling them a little bit here and getting the easy outs to start the fifth. Here, Holloway does get the hard contact and lines it into right field. That's more of what the Tigers want to see. 2-out single from Christian Holloway.
Yeah, and it's been a mix today of Tigers rolling over on the baseball, some others popping it up high into the air, but Holloway a couple of times has done a nice job to find that average and drive through the middle of the baseball. Second time that he's done so here in this one. Waiting back on that one, letting it travel deep into the zone. Goes the other way with that one.
You've got to love the approach of taking it to right field. His home run yesterday coming to the opposite field as well. And it just shows a consistent work ethic that is resulting in an average well over 300 now, thanks to the performances today and yesterday. Not a huge lead over there, but Williams still keeping an eye on him. Davison at the plate, 0 for 3 from the leadoff spot.
But again, a situation in which Trinity was able to do some damage yesterday with 2 outs on the board.
One of the sharper breaking balls we've seen from Williams, so we've seen that floater to Vonderhaar, especially to start the inning, but that one hitting the dirt a lot quicker. Maybe more of the slider. Holloway not going anywhere. Davison laying off the 0-2.
Yeah, a couple pitches ago, that ball in the dirt, one of the first, or one of the few that we've seen really spiked and buried by Williams on the mound. I think Davison maybe recognizing that breaking ball and trying to make sure that he got his foot down on time for it. Take advantage of something perhaps hanging up in the zone, but I imagine he'd more than likely see another similar offering on that breaking ball buried in the dirt again in this at-bat.
Closer pitch that time, but still misses outside. Davison battling back from down 0-2 to even the count at 2. Williams has been concerned with Holloway at first, throwing over there a couple of times. Holloway hasn't taken off yet, and he doesn't here. And Davison again lays off the close one, takes the count full, and now Holloway will be off and running with the full count.
Yeah, for Davison right here in that full count, seen Williams go to that breaking ball that he's dropped in the zone time and time again. Important to just stay short and compact, get that barrel into the zone.
There goes Holloway, and there goes ball 4. Davison with a great at-bat. And he'll keep the inning going, bring Tanner Haney to the plate with a couple of runners on. And as we've said, the 2-out opportunities, they've been there all year for the Tigers, able to come through when it looks like nothing's happening. And it looks like it's brewing here again in the 5th. Nobody on, 2 outs. Holloway able to reach with a single. Davison fighting to earn a walk. Haney chops it similar to how he did his last at-bat. This time will go foul.
And you mentioned when Christian Holloway was up in the batter's box how much you liked his approach, being willing to send something to right field. I think that's an approach that a lot of these Tiger hitters should be bringing with them to the plate in this 2-out situation right here. I've already seen Tanner Haney get in a little bit of trouble in the game today, trying to get well out in front of it, and that front shoulder just pulling open for him.
And you saw a little bit about in between the swings trying to tell himself to keep his hands in and send it the other way. He does send it towards right center, but the center fielder Birmingham gets there in time to get the third out of the inning. So a couple of runners stranded by the Tigers, and they're unable to push that lead to more than one. We have a close one here in San Antonio. Crusaders coming to bat, top of the 6th. Came in last inning, allowed one of Corey Cater's runners to score, but kept the lead intact for the Tigers, and he'll try to do the same here in the top of the 6th. Maverick Martinez the first to the plate, and a first pitch strike. You could hear the groans from the Crusader dugout on that one.
Yeah, and that pitch certainly on the inside part of the plate, maybe a little bit up in the zone, but figure that one catches enough and forces Martinez to have to swing the bat on that second offering. Just a really nice pitch from DeRoe right there, starting in that bottom third away from the hitter and dropping well out of the zone.
DeRoe trying to go with that high fastball. It's fouled off by Martinez. Similar to that pitch that you were wondering about on that sac fly in the top of the 5th. DeRoe trying to put the batter away with the fastball up out of the zone, but it catches enough of it to allow the contact. Here he goes with the breaking ball that's out and low.
And for Martinez in the batter's box, saw him yesterday in that game 1 against Shavana lay off a lot of those breaking balls down and away. I figure that DeRoe's going to have to go to something else, and that's exactly what he does right there, blowing that fastball by him for strike 3.
Great pitch from DeRoe, and DeRoe has been doing well in his last couple of outings, especially his last one against Concordia. He came in to replace the starting pitcher up in Austin, and he went 3 innings, gave up 0 runs, and struck out 6 tornadoes. And that follows up a performance in Centenary in which he went just 1 inning, but again, not allowing a run and striking out a Centenary batter. So that's 4 consecutive innings without a run and 7 strikeouts for the sophomore from Dallas. He gets ahead 0-2, and Corbett fooled by the breaking ball. DeRoe with back-to-back strikeouts here in the 6th.
Yeah, just really love the way that he's utilizing that breaking ball right now. That curveball a little tighter than some of the other offerings that we've seen from the Crusaders on the mound in this one. But he's had absolute control over it, being able to drop it in right over the heart of the zone for a strike, but he's controlled it well enough to start it right on the edge, right on the corner, and have it end up in the dirt. These hitters swinging right over the top of it.
Dangerous moment right there, though. Pierce Coleman sitting fastball, turns his hands and drives it way out of here, but foul. So we'll have to be careful with number 3 here. Stays out of the zone with a breaking ball. Giroux telling me this week, a lot of the confidence hailing from the fact that he's throwing a lot harder now. He's increased his velocity by about 4 or 5 miles per hour, and that's helped his entire repertoire. Right here gets Coleman to ground out to second. A nice play by Holloway going to his left and getting the 3rd out of the inning. We'll get a look at the replay. Holloway hasn't played a whole lot of second base this year, but he's coming through, able to get that one in time to Mets. Perfect inning from Giroux, a couple of strikeouts and that ground out. Keep the Tigers ahead 5-4. They'll look to make some noise in the bottom of the 6th. The first time in 4 innings that the Crusaders didn't plate a run across. So now the Tigers will look to take advantage and expand their lead a little bit. 5-4 in the bottom of the 6th, but the heart of the order, just the guys to do just that. Ezra Gore, big swing on that 1-0 delivery, sends it foul.
Yeah, and these 3, 4, 5 hitters combining to go 3 for 5 to this point on the day. Gore and Metz also reaching base on a couple of walks as well. So great opportunity for the Tigers to get some base runners early on in this inning. Hopefully put up a couple of runs on the board, increase that cushion from just the 1 run that it's at right now.
Have to wonder if Williams and Gore have ever come across one another, both from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Gore from McKinney and Williams from Frisco. And this time it'll be the Frisco kid who gets Gore swinging. And the impressive outing from Williams continues as he strikes out the center fielder.
Yeah, and just continuing to utilize that breaking ball really, really nicely. Certainly a difficult pitch to lay off of when you get so far ahead in counts. It's exactly what he did against Ezra right there, going ahead 1-2. And have to protect in a situation like that, unfortunately for Gore. Just went around a bit too much on that pitch in the dirt.
Mets gets ahead, 2-0 here. Williams up to 70 pitches on the afternoon. Pitch number 71 sent out to right field. Going back is Talley and making the catch in fair territory, says the umpire.
And a nice play from Talley out there in right field. Saw the right fielder for the Crusaders yesterday have a couple of tough plays to make down that right field line. Came up with 1 out of 2 of them, but does a nice job right there of ensuring that they steal the out, that ball that looked like it would have wound up in foul territory, and very quickly, a couple Tigers down in the heart of the order.
Wisniewski grounds out on the first pitch, and it'll be a quick 1-2-3 inning for the Tigers as the 3, 4, 5 hitters unable to make any noise. And we continue in this tight one from San Antonio. The top of the 7th will be next, and the Tigers up just 1. Had a crisp top of the 6th, a couple of strikeouts and a ground ball. And he looks to keep that momentum going. Close pitch there to Solomon. The umpire says it misses inside for a ball. You get a good look at Duro there, standing at 6'3", 185 from Dallas. Second pitch of the inning, close once again, but this time misses outside.
For Crusaders right here, Solomon followed by Gaspar at the bottom of this order. Really important that you get at least one, if not both of these runners onto base in a game that you're trailing now deep into it in the 7th inning. Opportunity for Anderson, Darnell, Birmingham at the top of the order to come in. It's the second time in this one that we've seen pitch for these Tiger pitchers sail all the way to that chain link fence for Williams, who came out of the bullpen for the Crusaders. A couple of breaking balls that came out of the hand a little bit early, wound up behind some Tiger hitters. Brian, you already mentioned that it's a hot one here in San Antonio, and the humidity climbing a little higher than it was yesterday. You have to wonder if that's beginning to take a toll on these pitchers on both sides, especially with the grip that they have on the baseball.
Definitely now up to 84. We're at 80 during first pitch, but it is right in the middle of the afternoon, the 3 p.m. hour here in San Antonio. We're approaching the home stretch of this one, and the Crusaders are right there. Gaspar showing bunt on the first pitch, but pulling it back as it missed outside. Duro now taking a step off the mound. So the leadoff runner reaches on a 4-pitch walk. The bunt shown again, but again a ball, so 2-0. The count, 6 straight balls to start the inning. And you have to say, after falling in a doubleheader sweep yesterday, being outscored 25-3, these Crusaders have shown incredible fight. An incredible will, really, to still be in this one and not give up after the tough outing yesterday. And it matches with what Coach Grafton told me earlier this week, saying that this is a team that's had its ups and downs. They're a young team, but they've recovered well all year. Regardless of their results, they play hard. And you can see it on full display here. Would have been easy to fold up and just take the sweep, but they are battling. Duro able to toss it onto first to get the out, but the runner does move over to second. And the Crusaders find themselves just a couple of bases away from perhaps tying this game as the runner goes to second with just one out.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying previously, performance in across 2 games yesterday for the Crusaders, one that you certainly want to forget, something that we've talked about earlier on in this year. We started to see more and more doubleheaders here in San Antonio. The way that one performance can carry over into the next, I think that's something that we've seen happen more often than not for this Tiger team. Hot bats carrying over from game 1 to game 2. Pitching, shut down pitching on the mound carrying over, something that's happened here in this series and something that happened against Southwestern a couple of weekends ago. But if you're on the other side of those things, you certainly want to just try and get out of that day and turn things around. It's exactly what the Crusaders have done here today. It seems as if they've totally forgotten about the performances that happened yesterday, and they've been an entirely different baseball team. And I think one of the biggest aspects that surprised me here today, Brian, is the energy that they've brought with them. You've mentioned time and time again the conversations and the noise that's come from their dugout here in this one. They just seem to be entirely more invested in this game here today.
Absolutely. After every pitch, after every big play, you hear the Crusader dugout making that noise. They brought a sizable contingent of fans. You get a good look at some of them there, wearing the navy and gray. Anderson here grounds to the right side. Holloway will be cut off by Metz, who gets the ground ball, and all runners will be safe. There is that noise we're talking about. Let's look at the replay. The ground ball to the right side. Metz goes from first to cut it off. DeRoe covering the bag, but will not receive a throw as Metz trying to get the runner napping over there at third. But now the tying run 90 feet away. And that runner at third, a new player in the game, Jonathan Morales, coming in to pinch run for Zach Solomon. So a little bit more speed on the bases, and Darnell up in a big spot.
And really interesting play right there at first base by MJ Metz. Bryant, wasn't entirely clear what was going on from that replay, but it still looked like there would have been a play for an out at first base. Metz opting to make that throw over to third, hoping that the runner would take a big turn, but it's ultimately not what we saw right there.
Darnell squaring around a bunt. Runner's not taking off, so just a safety squeeze perhaps, and really a fascinating scenario here. You have Darnell at the plate, who has 8 stolen bases on the year, so clearly some speed there. You have runners at the corners with 1 out. Might be hard to turn a double play. Darnell going with the bunt again. Runner taking off for second, and he is out. Tyler Pettit nails the runner trying to take second, Anderson. And for the first time this year, Michael Anderson has been thrown out trying to steal.
Yeah, and that's just a great job from Tanner Haney defensively right there. Coming over, establishing his position in front of the bag. It's a really strong throw by Pettit. I think Anderson's in there safely, however, if it was not for Tanner Haney, whose leg kind of disrupted the arm right there. It was that left arm on the inside part of the plate that got hung up on Haney's knees right there. And ultimately Tanner able to put the tag down, but surprising not to see Morales over there at third base moving on a throw that went all the way through to second base.
My thought exactly, but DeRoe bounces back from being in trouble to getting the strikeout and the third out of the inning. So quite the momentum shift there in favor of the Tigers. The Crusaders have runners at the corners with just 1 away, but a stolen base attempt stopped, and then a strikeout keeps the Tigers ahead. It's time to stretch, and I hope you do. It's been a tense one here in San Antonio, but exactly what we want. Exciting baseball on Tiger Network. always working to get better here at Tiger Network, and look at what we've pulled out. The 7th inning stretch, and we have Take Me Out to the Ball Game during the commercial break. Thank you so much to the amazing people in the control room for making that happen. Fun to hear that through our headsets, Luke.
Oh, absolutely. A nice little surprise, and certainly one that I'm sure you're happy with.
And something might be happy with here is a home run from Brian Schaub. Looks like the Las Palapas is working as Schaub drives it to left field and out of here. A big insurance run for number 42 and the Tigers.
Yeah, didn't have to wait around long for a pitch that he wanted to hit right there. And, you know, it might be the carbs in those pancakes that are helping Brian Schaub out with that swing.
Whatever he's doing, we want to try it. Home run number 5 on the year. And it comes in a big moment. It's been a close one all along here in San Antonio. Neither team really able to separate from each other. But we'll see if that gets the Tiger offense going a little bit here in the 7th.
Nice response right there from Williams. We had seen a lot of that breaking ball and a lot of that fastball, but right there, comes back after giving up a home run. Starts Jack Vonderhaar off with what looked to be that changeup that had some nice movement. Ran arm side away from the hitter.
And Luke, I know you said maybe the carbs from the pancakes, but it's not the only thing that Schaub has been eating recently. And you might remember at home the conversations we had yesterday. There's been a lot of Las Palapas talk in between it, so you may not remember. But Schaub and Ayler, known for their rice cooker that they're so fond of and so infamous that it made it into their media day picture. Right here, Vonderhaar trying to follow things up, and he will. Back-to-back home runs between Schaub and Vonderhaar. Looks like the rice is being shared across the Tiger lineup. And this is the power we've been wanting from this Tiger lineup, and it's appeared in the 7th.
Yeah, it really seems like these Tigers, second and third time through the order against Williams right here, are starting to figure things out. A couple of batters in a row, sitting back on that breaking ball. Vonderhaar, incredibly impressive to send that one the opposite way, something that we know Jeremy Wolf never did in his career as a left-handed hitter. So Jack Vonderhaar with some bragging rights on that one right there. Incredibly impressive feat of his strength.
You see, Jeremy, if you're listening, it is possible for a left-handed hitter to hit it out towards the pool here at Trinity. You just have to try a little bit. And Vonderhaar able to connect with the back-to-back home run. But it's clear that the pancakes, the rice, whatever it is, it's working. And what we're going to show after this half inning, the last of the 3 videos shown this weekend, Brian Schaub and Garrett Ayler talking about that rice cooker that has done wonders for them. And the video, just in case you're wondering, does show the media day picture with the rice cooker. So you will not only hear from them, but you will see the iconic picture.
No, I'm happy to know that. Certainly would have been a shame if that had been left out. I love those media day pictures. Incredibly entertaining across pretty much every sport to see what the athletes get up to and what items they bring in, what scenes they like to recreate with their teammates.
Pettit trying to make it back to back to back, but that one will head foul, perhaps a little closer to the pool. But when you have Schaub hitting 6th and Vonderhaar hitting 7th, followed by Pettit at 8th, it's tough to find a deeper lineup than that, both in the conference and across Division III when you look at what those 3 batters can do at the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah, and a ton of pop in the bats of these 3 guys. We saw Tyler Pettit loop one into right field earlier on today. That patented one-handed swing that we joked about, but it's a swing that's put a couple over the fence in left field earlier on this year. So really no breaks anywhere in the lineup here for the Tigers.
It's a trio between Schaub, Vonderhaar, and Pettit that combined for 24 home runs a year ago. In 2022 so far, they have 9 home runs between the three of them. But if those bats really get going, it will be tough to get this Tiger lineup out. Pettit taking the count full here against Williams. And he does mash it to left, and that'll be down and up against the wall. Pettit will stay at first as that ball was just so hard hit that he'll have to stick to a single. But not much missing the bats of this Tiger lineup here in the 7th.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Pettit, that one looked like it got a little bit in on his hands, able to keep it fair still and incredibly hard hit off the bat. But just goes to show the amount of power and pop in his bat if that one wasn't one that was barreled up.
This is the second visit of the inning, this time by head coach Eric Grafton, so it'll result in a pitching change. Graham Williams had done well to keep the Tiger lineup quiet, but they have woken up in the 7th. Now lead 7-4, have a runner on first with still nobody out. We'll take a break and be back as the Tigers look to break things open. Unique delivery from Ethan Mann coming out of the bullpen as he tries to slow things down. Trinity really picking things up in the 7th. Back-to-back home runs from Brian Schaub and Jack Vonderhaar. Then a single to left, bulleted off the bat of Pettit. Now a different delivery from Mann. Mann, the freshman from South Lake, Texas, and Luke, you mentioned early on in the year he was a key contributor for the Crusaders.
Yeah, had earned himself the role as a Friday starter for this team previously. That one, despite the more unorthodox delivery, runs in and hits Holloway. So now the Tigers with runners on first and second here in the bottom of the 7th. But for Mann, it's been a while since he's made an appearance on the mound. First time in the month of April. Almost been a whole month since he's appeared on the bump for the Crusaders.
Last time Mann did come into a game, March 6th against Capital, went 3 1/3 innings, Gave up 4 runs with 7 walks along the way. So just 4 hits, but 7 walks, resulting in the 4 earned runs. That was a whole month ago, as you said, Luke.
But you have to like the unorthodox delivery against this Tiger lineup that's boasting quite a few right-handed hitters. 7 out of the 9 in the order today, standing in from the right-handed batter's box. As Austin Davison swings and misses well out in front of that off-speed delivery after squaring around to bunt and fouling the first pitch off. Finds himself down 0-2 here. A lot more movement on the baseball as it drifts away from all of these right-handed hitters into that left-handed batter's box. Certainly a good spot for Mann to enter the game. Coming in to face Holloway. Starting with Holloway, has 5 straight right-handed hitters from these Tigers. But Davison, after falling behind in the count, showing that fight that we saw out of him earlier with 2 strikes, fouling that one off down the right side.
And Mann, not the only Southlake Carroll Dragon on the roster for Dallas. Second baseman Tyler Darnell, also a freshman from Southlake, so the teammates reuniting here in Irving. Mann's pitch taken to left, but it'll land foul. Davison thought he had himself a hit, but he'll have to walk on back to the batter's box. Mann goes back to that sidearm motion and misses low and away, takes a long walk around the mound before getting back to the rubber.
Not a bad delivery from Mann right there, but Corbett falling over a little bit behind the plate, unable to stick that one on the corner of the zone, and when that happens, absolutely no shot of getting a strike call.
Now goes back to the more traditional motion and still misses outside. The count full. We saw this from Davison last time up at the plate. He fell behind 0-2, then drew the walk. And he's nearly at that point. Once again, the count 3-2, runners on first and second. Nobody out, so not sure that we'll see them take off, but it's Pettit out there at second, Holloway at first. Davison waiting back. You see how hard he's trying to wait on that breaking ball. He fouls it back.
And certainly a tough task to do, but important to just stay short, compact in that swing, make sure that the barrel gets to the baseball. Continue to fight these pitches right around the edge of the zone off. Hopefully he sees something over the heart of it.
I don't know how he laid off of that one. Looks like a changeup that just dropped off the table. But Austin able to hold back his swing and load the bases for the Tigers. So a rude awakening for Ethan Mann. And now the 2-hole hitter Tanner Haney with a chance to really break things open for the Tigers. They came into this inning up just 5-4. A couple of solo shots from Schaub and Vonderhaar expanding that. And Haney with the chance to really give the Tigers some room to breathe. Looks at a strike from Mann, who goes with the sidearm motion that time. Not sure I've ever seen anything like this with the pitcher going back and forth between deliveries in such a drastic difference. He goes underneath there. The ball gets away from Corbett. Runner not coming though. Pettit sticking around at third. I was going to say, has to be hard for the catcher as well to not necessarily know how the pitcher is going to throw. Not sure if there's an added sign to have Mann let Corbett know exactly how he's going to throw. But just an added little wrinkle. The last 2 have come from the side. We'll see what Mann goes to. This one more over the top. in the dirt again. This time Corbett able to block it.
And I think a good point you make, Brian. Difficult to communicate whether or not, as a pitcher, or between a pitcher and catcher, what you're going to be going to, whether it's that more traditional form over the top or if he's going to sidearm delivery.
Haney here, not minding which delivery it is, lines it up the middle, and he's going to drive home a pair. Pettit and Holloway come across to score, and a big hit from Tanner Haney puts the Tigers ahead 9-4.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Haney not carrying in that at-bat right there, doing a much better job than he did earlier on in this one with his top half. Staying relatively quiet up top. Those shoulders whipping around much later on in that at-bat. Does a nice job keeping that front shoulder closed and staying through the baseball right there.
Bunt shown here by Ezra Gore. Takes the pitch for a strike, though. Davison out there at second now. Haney at first after the 2 RBI single. Bunt again, and he gets it down, and man, with the heads-up move, somehow gets it to third in time, and the runner Davison will be out at third. So the sacrifice attempt will not work from Ezra Gore. Make that the first out of the 7th.
Yeah, and something that we talked about earlier on in this one, really pace and placement of those bunts, significantly more important than whoever it is in the box running. And Gore certainly has enough speed to beat out a lot of plays in the infield, but unfortunate for him, just sent that one right back to man on the mound. Really easy out. Does a nice job of fielding his position, but in addition to that, has the presence of mind to go ahead and throw out the lead runner. A bit surprising, though, however, to see that the Tigers squaring around to bunt after they've already scratched across 4 runs here in the inning.
And Gore joining Holloway yesterday in the 3-run homer parade. So he had a similar opportunity here, but taking the chance to bunt instead. Interested to know what the rationale was for that. But now Metz finds himself at the plate, down 0-2. Man maybe now getting a little bit more of a feel for the game. Going with the over-the-top motion, misses outside, ball 1. As difficult as it is for the catcher to know which delivery is coming. Have to assume that the batter has no clue whether it's going to come from down under or from the top. Metz waits back on the delivery from underneath. Birmingham racing in from center. He catches that fly ball, so 2 outs now. I'm very conscious of which teams I bring up today to not get any counter going, Luke, so I'll mention former Atlanta Brave Darren O'Day sidearm delivery reminds me a lot of what Man is doing. I know O'Day pitched for some other teams as well, but he did pitch for the Braves, right?
Oh, absolutely.
No other teams that we need to mention?
Yeah, for sure. But for Man on the mound, I think that you talk about the way he's rotated between that more typical over-the-top 3/4 arm slot delivery and that sidearm delivery makes things especially difficult on these hitters. As you mentioned, the same thing happening in that at-bat for Metz right there. Looked to be a little bit of a breaking ball. Not a ton of vertical drop on it, but just enough to get Metz swinging under it. Having him loft one out there to center field.
Jack Wisniewski already with a couple of RBI today. Has 2 more out there on second and third. You see Wisniewski usually at the heart of the scoring action, has scored 17 runs himself, along with driving in 16. He'll try to get 2 more home, this one out to left center, but Birmingham ranges back and retires the side. So coming up, don't forget the rice cooker video now on tap.
I'll let you kick that one off.
Yeah, so the rice cooker, that's something, that was an addition this year. Last year we would use our Instapot, which is great, another great product for everyone at home, but the rice cooker was something that my mom got us, and that thing's our workhorse. We put that thing to the test every single day, and it never fails us. But the rice cooker, it's kind of our thing. Obviously, other guys on the team, they like to eat healthy, all that stuff, but that's something we've taken pride in. I know both of us have had tremendous body transformations in our college time, but the rice cooker is just kind of our thing. So it was one of those things we were getting ready to leave the house, and we were just like, "You want to take this?" And he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So it got in the media day picture. So that was definitely a good picture.
That's definitely a picture that I'll have for a while. I don't know what I'm gonna do next year when Schaub takes the rice cooker with him. Probably gonna have to buy one myself, but I guess I'll have to eat that charge because it has become definitely a staple.
Yeah.
Thank you to Brian Schaub's mom for getting them the rice cooker and providing this wonderful story to share with the world. That picture will just live on forever, I think. And I'm excited to hear, Luke, your thoughts finally seeing the rice cooker video.
Well, I think the thing that I'm most impressed with is how composed they are posed in that picture with the rice cooker. I've seen a lot of really goofy, silly pictures on those media days, but that is maybe more so deserving of a banner behind home plate. I think that rivals what Jeremy Wolf was asking for himself. I think that is something that the athletic department would be proud to fund. Those are two guys that have certainly come into the program and made their mark, and I know we mentioned it yesterday when we learned a little bit about their journey and their arrival here in San Antonio. They've certainly made their impact on the baseball program, but this is a community that's, as a whole, better off because they're here.
That has to be the best idea you've ever had. A banner of that picture at the stadium needs to happen immediately.
Oh, certainly. I think that's an appropriate cover for any media day book in the future. I don't know. There's a world of possibilities that you can venture into that are all rice cooker themed, I think.
And they also mentioned that some of the other guys on the team eat healthier, that maybe rice isn't considered healthy. I didn't really know that, but if Brian Schaub and Garrett Ayler are eating rice and it's working for them on the mound and at the plate, resulting in a home run like we saw last inning, I will solely eat rice from now on.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I'm sure they use it as it's a healthier carb. You get some brown rice in that rice cooker, and you can put so many different things on top of it. I'm sure that those guys both are cognizant of the fact that they need to eat healthy, but I think that's just one way that really makes it easier on them. So again, shout out to the parents. Make it all possible. I know we talked a lot on the broadcast about the role of parents, and I think that was one of the more interesting things that we learned when Joseph Trivana came onto the broadcast. His mom being at the game and her book with every at-bat, every pitch he threw. I think it's really awesome to see what kind of roles parents continue to play in the lives of these athletes, even as they venture into college.
Parents are the best, and it's been so great to interact with them this year. I know Luke and I, when we started the broadcast last spring, no fans were in the stands, so we did not get to meet any of the friends and family of the Trinity baseball team, but this year it's been completely different. I've loved having conversations with parents and grandparents and cousins and siblings, just everyone coming to support the Tigers, as you said, playing such a large role in their careers and in their lives, of course, with all they've done. So thank you to what they do, and finally thank you to Brian Schaub and Garrett Ayler one last time for their time during practice. I know it's not easy to miss the time there while your teammates are out there on the field, but they took a few minutes to chat with me, and so happy that it's turned into 3 great videos that we've gotten to show on the broadcast. So thank you to them one more time. Right here, DeRoe starting the 8th inning on a roll, striking out Birmingham, and now striking out Tally. Just what he's wanting to do after the Tigers add 4 in the last half.
Start Martinez off with another one of those nice breaking balls. That one missing just low, and a nice job from Martinez, something that he's illustrated in the batter's box all weekend long. It's that plate discipline that he's brought with him, but fooled a little bit on that one. Tough to lay off of 2 of those breaking balls in a row, especially when you lay off the first to go ahead in the count 1-0. Tough to imagine that DeRoe on the mound is going to go back to it, but that's really what he's done all day today that's made him so successful. That's 3 in a row right there. And all of a sudden, he's ahead 1-2 in this count, and a chance for 3 strikeouts in this inning against all 3 batters he faced. Incredibly impressive against the middle of this Crusader order.
And he does just that. Harrison DeRoe strikes out the side, takes care of business in the 8th, and makes his way to the dugout with a 5-run lead for the Tigers. So things looking up for Trinity. They are on the verge of a 3-game sweep. Just a little bit to go here on Tiger Network. Brian Schaub at the plate, once again following up his home run in the 7th. Just an incredible season line that you get to see right there, hitting over 300 with the 23 RBI and the 5 round trippers.
Good one, Adam.
Slowly getting to that 14 mark that he reached a season ago. He's the type of hitter that if he gets on a run, he could easily reach that mark before we reach the end of the season. He's behind 0-2 here, but he gets a good piece of that one and sends it down the left field line. Won't be a home run, but it'll be a stand-up double for Brian Schaub. So his bat remains on fire.
Yeah, just a really nice piece of hitting right there. Talked about the fact that one not a home run. That pitch from Mann had a little bit of run in on the hands and looked like it dropped a little bit as well. So nice job from Schaub to remain through the middle third of that baseball nonetheless, and put a lot on that one to get it past the third baseman. That's Martinez down there for the Crusaders.
funny how things work out. It was earlier in this game that we pointed out Vonderhaar with just the 1 home run on the year must have heard us during the game and decided, I want a second home run. And he drove it out the opposite way to follow up Schaub's solo shot in the 7th. I think that's what happened, Luke.
I mean, we've talked a lot about it over the past couple of days. You know, we wonder whether these guys are cognizant of where they're at in the statistical standings, and clearly Ezra Gore was paying attention when he let you know that he had tied Brian Schaub with the home run lead yesterday. So wouldn't be surprised if Vonderhaar was thinking about the fact that he only had 1 run and it was some extra motivation for himself.
Mound visit here between the Dallas coach and Ethan Mann. But Vonderhaar, the super senior, here in his 5th year with the Tigers. He is from Woodinville, Washington. And this season he's missed a couple of games, was hit pretty hard with a pitch earlier in the season. We were on the broadcast against Southwestern, took it on the forearm, forced him to miss a couple of games, but back in the lineup when the Tigers went to Centenary, and he remains there, and he is an important force right in the middle of the Tiger order. The experience, the veteran leadership. It's clear to anyone who steps close to the field that Jack Vonderhaar is a big leader on the team, always motivating his teammates, always providing the motivation that they need. So certainly his play on the field, very important, but his leadership probably even more key.
Yeah, I think that's especially relevant in a season when you lose a handful of guys that were super seniors on the squad last year. Guys that were huge contributors over the course of 5 years here, and then all of a sudden there's a big drop-off in the number of guys in the next class. Just the 2 super seniors on the roster this year, and Vonderhaar and Wisniewski, but both of those guys stepping up and filling those leadership roles, as you mentioned. Clear to tell who the leaders on the squad are this season, and they certainly are 2 of the biggest ones.
Definitely, and Cater, technically, it gets confusing with who you refer to as super seniors because some people are here for different reasons. Cater had the extra year coming off of an injury as well, not necessarily the COVID year, but he's here for a 5th year, so he could technically be a super senior as well. Pettit also in his 5th year, he came over from UIW. So it's a big mesh of people, but Wisniewski and Vonderhaar, definitely 2 big leaders. Because then you have first years like Jack Martinez getting time on the mound, who we saw yesterday, and then really the sophomore class beginning to dominate. We've seen it today with Harrison DeRoe coming out of the bullpen, Joseph Shavana yesterday, Christian Holloway with his hot hitting, Colt Harris hitting over 380, not in the lineup today. But from the top to the bottom of this roster, contributions have been had and been given. Big swing there from Pettit, but I know the coaches are happy with how this weekend has gone.
Yeah, certainly easy to see why both days really complete performances out of this Trinity team. Yesterday, talked about the hitting and the pitching and the defense that we saw as Pettit lifts another deep out to left field. The left fielder out there, Coleman, just has to turn and watch it go as Pettit leaves the yard for the 3rd time today for these Tigers.
This trio at the bottom of the order keeps it up. We talked about it with Schaub and Vonderhaar getting their home runs. Pettit wanting to join the party, and he does with the 2-run shot. Tigers up 11-4 and all smiles here in San Antonio for Trinity.
And you see that maybe a little bit of little less of a one-handed swing from Pettit right there, but a little bit of English as the bat came out of his hand. Absolute no doubter off the bat of the Tiger catcher. Sailed well over the left field wall. Pads this Tiger lead just that much more in the bottom of the 8th We've seen, as I was talking about in this series, a holistic performance on both sides. We've seen these hitters put good contact on the middle third of the baseball, use the entire field. They've also driven it out of the ballpark a handful of times, as Christian Holloway goes the other way with this one. Unfortunately hit just right at John Talley out there in right. And on the mound for the Tigers this weekend, done a nice job pitching to contact, but a couple guys, Joseph Shavana and now Harrison DeRoe, that have come in, been shut down, and combined for 17 strikeouts between the two sophomore pitchers.
The Tigers have scored more than 10 runs in 5 consecutive games. They've won each of those for a 5-game win streak. But now, with these 11 runs, it is up to 6 in a row with double-digit runs, and they're trying to bring that win streak along with them. They are just a couple of outs away from completing the sweep. But have to imagine there's not a whole lot of days that you can look at the box score and see Ezra Gore and MJ Metz with no RBI between the two and still have 11 runs on the board. So the Tigers getting contributions from everyone in the lineup, that 5 through 8 spot really coming through. 7 runs batted in from the 5 through 8 holes, and right here Davison will get his first hit of the afternoon. Ball that gets all the way to the wall, and Austin, the leadoff hitter, showing the speed and showing why he's at the top of the order. A triple for Davison here in the 8th.
And a great piece of hitting from Davison right there, something that we've seen him try and do already in this one, go the other way with it. Finds a way to put that one into the gap, and now, Brian, it's 1 through 9 for the Tigers, who will leave this one with a hit today. It's an incredibly well-rounded performance. Really can't say enough about the way that they've swung the bat this weekend.
But you see, Austin was shocked to see his name atop the order. Said he's a catcher not used to leading things off, but that's precisely why he's there. I think everyone saw his hidden speed that he's shown, going from his catching position, trying out left field, just trying to get in the lineup any way possible, and it stood out enough to get him in that top spot. It results in a triple.
Yeah, and clearly from that replay, you can tell that the throw came into third base, but I was a little surprised to see that. I think Austin was really in there without any question. That throw coming relatively late. Obviously being instructed by Coach Waters over there at third base to get down with that being the case, but I think you're exactly right. Absolutely showing his speed off on the base paths, and certainly something that could earn him even more appearances in games moving forward.
If you're wondering, that is in fact Davison's first career triple. Big swing from Haney here. Results in a foul tip. But there's something about these catchers on the Trinity roster, because you might know, I'm sure you do, who has the lead in triples on this team.
I'm not entirely sure, Brian. I'd like you to remind us.
Well, of course, it's Tyler Pettit with 2 triples on the year. So the catcher does more than just hit home runs with one swing, one hand. He also runs around the bases and gets triples. And he's clearly inspired the catchers on the team. And Davison just trying to do his best to be a catcher who is fast. And it's what's done here at Trinity.
With the speed that Davison showed us on that last hit, I have to imagine that if he has more opportunities with his name called to swing the bat, then he's probably vying for that lead in triples.
It's one category Ezra Gore has no shot in currently. He has 0 triples on the year. So Ezra, going to have to step it up in the triple category.
I wonder if you asked him about that, if he'd be cognizant of that one too. He's lacking in the triple category. Certainly he won't be too upset considering the fact that he's up there amongst the leaders in home runs. Maybe he'll be a little more upset about the fact that Brian Schaub regained that lead atop that category by himself.
Maybe he'll have to eat some more rice. Tanner Haney eating some, it seems, as he lines a single into left field and adds to this Trinity lead, now 12-4. Really pouring it on here in the 7th and 8th innings are the Tigers.
And again, a nice piece of hitting from Haney right there. Really incredible to see the in-game adjustments that have been made by these hitters over the past couple of days. We talked about it, the fact that Tigers were skying a lot of balls to the outfield in Game 1 yesterday before they figured things out. For Tanner Haney, a lot of movement on the upper half that's really quieted down in his last couple of at-bats, and he's going to exit the day with a multi-hit game because of it.
Head coach Eric Grafton currently on the mound, speaking to his pitcher, Ethan Mann. And a change will be made here in the bottom of the 8th. So we'll take a break on Tiger Network and meet the new Crusader pitcher after the break. Latest pitcher out of the bullpen for the Crusaders, Maximilian Costello, the senior from all the way up in Anchorage, Alaska. And his first pitch to Gore, skied out to center field, Birmingham coming in, and Gore unable to get a triple to join that race, but he'll have to try again next time. As we head to the top of the 9th, 3 outs away from a weekend sweep. Tigers look to wrap that up after the break. top of the 9th inning here in San Antonio. Tigers 3 outs away from a sweep, and it looks like Harrison Duro will get the opportunity to finish things up. Very excited to see some action in the chat as Corbett hits this one hard, but Gore ranges over to make the catch. We've so badly wanted activity in the YouTube chat, and we finally have gotten it. Glad to see some softball players in the mentions. They've won 4 in a row, clearly feeling good and then tuning in to watch us, so thank you. Congratulations on your win, softball team. And lots of other action in the chat that we love to see, so thankfully we have engaged our audience, and we hope to keep that up as the season continues, and we hope you'll join us on Tuesday at 7 p.m. as the Tigers host Our Lady of the Lake University. After that Tuesday game, we'll have that weekend that we've been talking about with St. Thomas. Friday at 7, and then a Saturday doubleheader that kicks off at 2. Plenty of opportunities to get a look at these Tigers, whether it's on Tiger Network or out here at the ballpark. Beautiful curveball from Duro gets Coleman swinging to even up the count at 2. And another beautiful breaking ball right on the corner. And as Duro signals, 2 outs in the 9th. Complete domination from Harrison Duro.
Absolutely, and similar to what we saw out of a couple of University of Dallas starters over the past couple of days, Duro really has led with that breaking ball, certainly been the majority of his offerings. It's been a really sharp one that's been entirely under his control all day today. It's resulted in 8 strikeouts. He's still yet to allow a hit with just 1 more out needed to get the Tigers the weekend sweep.
There's that breaking ball again. Kopp able to foul this one off to stay alive. It's been a great weekend of baseball for the Trinity Tigers. Ranked 22 in the nation and trying to make a statement, and they nearly do with that one. Certainly looked like strike 3. Pettit and Duro certainly felt it.
I think Kopp felt so as well as he started his walk back to the dugout. Not a whole lot of conviction out of anyone right there.
I guess the statement has to wait. Ground ball to third, unable to be handled by Wisniewski. So Kopp, they keep things alive.
Maybe the home plate umpire heard me, as that certainly looked to be strike 3 on the outside part of the plate. I think Griffin Kopp knew it and then was granted the opportunity to really deliver the announcer's curse, the first hit that'll go against Harrison Duro on the day, just a couple of moments after I said he had the opportunity to leave this game without one.
That pitch misses a little bit high, 1-1 the count to Gaspar. Gaspar grounds it to short, Haney flips it to Holloway, and that is a weekend sweep for the Tigers. The Crusaders storm into San Antonio, but the Tigers put up a shield and send them back to Dallas with 3 wins here for the Tigers, and it makes it a 6-game winning streak for Trinity. All around great performances, hard to know where to start. But Luke, your impression of not only this one, but an impressive weekend for the Tigers.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It's a difficult task to break down the past couple of days, based purely on the fact that everyone was impressive in this series. I think that I look to the pitching staff first and foremost. However, across 3 games, giving up 7 runs, including a shutout in the opener, I feel like that really set the tone. And that was Joseph Chavana who did that. had a great outing in Game 1, but Harrison DeRoe, another sophomore, really bracketed the weekend, coming in relief today, striking out 8 on the day and 4 2/3 innings of work. So a couple of great performances by young Tigers on the bump, but certainly doesn't go without mentioning the way that they swung the bat as well.
37 runs put up by the Tigers in these 3 games. The sweep of the doubleheader yesterday and the sweep of the series completed today. 3 home runs belted by the Tigers off the bats of Brian Schaub, Jack Vonderhaar, and Tyler Pettit. That led the way as we wrap up now at the 4 o'clock hour. Just over 3 hours it took for the Tigers to deliver the sweep. It's been a fantastic weekend as always on Tiger Network. Thank you so much to the control room, to everybody working the camera, allowing us to bring you this broadcast. Thank you to the fans at home for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this weekend and all the extra things we added. For Luke Terry, I'm Brian Yanselson. Have a fantastic Sunday. Go enjoy the Grammys. Go enjoy South Carolina winning the Women's National Championship. And we'll see you on Tuesday night at 7 p.m.